After leaving the occult research club, Xia Lin walked slowly towards the first-year classroom. I have to say that the food at the occult research club was really good, and he was a little overwhelmed. Along the way, Xia Lin still attracted some attention. After all, not long ago, he walked with Hajime Aquino, a popular campus star which aroused the gossip heart of some people. When it reappears at this moment, it will naturally attract a lot of attention. However, Xia Lin didn't care, ignoring these curious and jealous eyes and returned to the classroom indifferently. Xia Lin is back. As soon as Xia Lin returned to the classroom, it was like a stone falling into the water, causing 1,000 waves. When the classmates in the classroom saw Xia Lin's return, they were as excited as they had been beaten with blood. They all gathered around him and began to ask questions. Xia Lin, what's your relationship with Hajime Aquino-senpai? Yeah. Why did that elder sister come to our class to find you in person? Xia Lin, how is Aquino-senpai? I heard that he is a very gentle person. The classmates around Xia Lin asked me what happened between Xia Lin and Hajime Aquino, and most of them were girls. Looking at the curious classmates around her, Xia Lin shook her head helplessly. Knew it would be so. Xia Lin thought for a while and replied, "It's not really a big deal. Aquino-senpai just came to invite me to join the Occult Research Club." Occult Research Club? This is the most popular club in Kyo Academy. A lot of people want to join in, but there is absolutely no way. I'm so envious. In addition to Hajime Aquino-senpai, there is also first-year Taoju Kaneko and Ria-sama. Did you promise? Xia Lin nodded. Yes, the application for admission has been submitted at noon. Anything else? If you were only invited to join the club, why did Hajime Aquino-senpai come in person? Yes, and the relationship between the two of you seems unusual. Senior Aquino calls you Xia Lin-kun affectionately. Even girls in our class have no such rights. It's so suspicious. Xia Lin, you belong to us. Don't be deceived by the temptation outside the class. Xia Lin rolled her eyes. Is this the time to be tangled? Well, since you all know it, I won't hide it from you. As if the secret had been discovered, Xia Lin sighed helplessly and said, joining the Occult Research Club is just a pretense. In fact, it was Sister Ria's who had a crush on me. And she promised me that as long as I joined the Occult Research Club, the beautiful women in it would be any I choose to be my girlfriend as long as I like it. Ah, it turned out to be Sister Ria's. Then I want to be your girlfriend, Xia Lin. I want it too. Count me in. Is it possible to get closer to Ria-sama? Since you all want to be Xia Lin's girlfriend, I can't be left behind. Do you really believe it? Looking at the excited girls around, a black line flashed across Xia Lin's forehead. Also, why do I seem to hear a big orange speak in it? Especially after opening this head, this group of excited girls seem to have taken medicine and even started to move their feet. Sure enough, in this girls' school where yin and yang are declining, the girls are a little too bold. What a statement this is. Jingle bell, suddenly the ready bell rang. Is this going to be a class? It's a pity. You guys are so abominable. You actually stood in front of me and I didn't even touch them. Who told you to stand outside like that? As the class bell rang, the girls surrounding Xia Lin reluctantly left and returned to their seats with residual excitement on their faces. Xia Lin had a dark face, addicted to taking advantage. Xia Lin, you are really welcome. After everyone had left, Xia Lin's desk mate returned to her seat. She had just returned to the classroom after Xia Lin, but after taking a step back, she could only be squeezed out. Nikon-san, I haven't congratulated you on joining the student council yet. Xia Lin glanced at her tablemate, who was a girl with 2 ponytails. Her name was Renkun Liuliuzi. Thanks. Ryuko Nomura smiled and thanked him happily. Congratulations too for your joining the Occult Research Club. This is a club that every man dreams of joining. Xia Lin, you are really amazing. You were actually favored by Ria-senpai. Nomura Ryuko said sincerely, you are really amazing. You have been favored in the first year and joined the student council, which is rare. Xia Lin means something in general. Yeah, is it? It's a prize. Nomura Liuliu laughed dryly. She joined the student union not because she had the talent of the student union, but another. Like the Occult Research Club, the Student Council can also be regarded as Shitori Sona's personal department, and those who can join are also considered pawns. Ryuko Nomura is a new reincarnated devil. Xia Lin doesn't have the aura of devil. Isn't it a reincarnated devil? It's really strange. Then why did Senior Rias let him join the Occult Research Club? Nomura Liuliu murmured in his heart, looking at Xia Lin with a lot of questions. Student Renkun, classmate Renkun, are you dumbfounded? Xia Lin called out to the dazed Nomura Liuliuzi twice. Ah. Sorry, lost my mind. Renkun Liuliuzi blushed and explained quickly, then turned his head quickly and said, Sensei is here, class is coming. Xia Lin smiled and retracted her eyes. Sensei on the podium tidied up the desk for a while and started the afternoon class. Xia Lin was rarely prepared to listen to the lectures carefully to pass the afternoon. I'm going to be bored again, why don't I take a stroll around the occult research?
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
Club after class. Supporting her face with one hand, Xia Lin stared at the blackboard boredly. I have to say that although I have no interest in becoming a devil, Xia Lin is still very happy to get along with a group of beautiful girls. Start publishing the task is being generated, please wait. The system beep sounds. A new task has been generated, please check. It really doesn't let me be idle. Xia Lin laughed but was looking forward to it and opened the task panel. Side quest, the Emperor's defeat. Mission difficulty, easy hard. Mission requirements, defeat either the Red Dragon Emperor or the White Dragon Emperor head-on. Mission reward, 1 Sacred Gear loot card, 101,000,000 points. According to the mission evaluation, the corresponding points will be obtained. Looking at the content of the task, Xia Lin pondered for a while, then smiled. This task seems to have a choice, but for him there is no choice. The White Dragon Emperor should still be in the underworld at this moment, and there is no figure to be found. Even if he is lucky enough to meet the White Dragon Emperor, Xia Lin's current strength is estimated to be no match for the opponent. You can only use Haodu Ise for surgery. Xia Lin smiled and decided to choose. I don't know if Ria sent someone to watch Haodu Ise during this time. Looking at the task, Xia Lin thought. Haodu Ise was spotted by Ria's and chose the time period for him to become a new family member, which should have happened when Taoju Kaneko entered the first year of Kyo Academy. That is, recently. And as if for protection and also to monitor Haodu Ise, Ria sent Taoju Kaneko to watch over Haodu Ise in secret. Although the target of this mission is Haodu Ise, if you rashly beat up Haodu Ise, it is very likely that you will meet Taoju Kaneko and others. To choose a suitable time and place, it's best not to meet Ria's people. Xia Lin whispered to herself, thinking about how to find trouble with Haodu Ise. If it wasn't necessary, he didn't particularly want to fall out with Ria's and the others. Of course, if unavoidable, Xia Lin will definitely choose to complete system tasks as a priority. As for the views of Ria's and others, it is definitely not as good as system tasks. The afternoon time passed quickly. During recess, Xia Lin has been harassed by the girls in the class many times. Some of them seem serious, some of them are just for fun, and they take the opportunity to wipe oil, making Xia Lin feel pain and happiness. So as soon as it was time for school, Xia Lin immediately found an excuse to slip away, making those girls who were still unwilling to look at Xia Lin's back, regretting endlessly. Leaving the class, he first took a look at Haodu Ise's class. Xia Lin and Haodu Ise are not familiar with each other and have never met formally, but Haodu Ise is also a big celebrity in the school, so even if they don't know each other, they know such a person. Slid faster than me. When they came to Haodu Ise's class, Xia Lin didn't find anyone, so she should have left first. Xia Lin could only shake her head helplessly. After the search was fruitless, Xia Lin did not run around like a headless fly, but temporarily put the task aside and went to the area of the old school building. Coming to the door of the Occult Research Club, Xia Lin knocked on the door, and after getting the permission inside, he walked in. Xia Lin. Ah, so it's Xia Lin-kun. In the Occult Research Club, there are only Rias and Hajime Aquino. The two were sitting on the sofa in the center of the classroom, drinking tea gracefully. After seeing that it was Xia Lin, both of them were a little surprised, then smiled and said hello. Then why are you surprised? Xia Lin asked with a smile. After all, at noon, someone just said that they would not come to participate in club activities. Hajime Aquino, please cover her mouth and laugh with teasing in her smile. I didn't expect you to come here just after school. It seems that Xia Lin is still looking forward to the club activities. Or, does Xia Lin actually want to meet me and Ria's? Hajime Aquino looked at Xia Lin with a sweet smile with a hint of flirting. Anyway, it's the first day I officially joined the Occult Research Club. I can't miss such an important day. Besides, I don't have anything else to do today. I just came to see what the club activities are all about. Xia Lin shrugged. As he said that, he glanced at the classroom and asked strangely, what about Tasheng and Kiba? Why can't you see them both? Actually, today is the club's rest day. Yesterday's hunting of the lost devil was fruitful. There shouldn't be any specific activities today. Riaz replied with a chuckle. If Yuyudo is concerned, he should go to practice swordsmanship. If Kaneko is concerned, he feels restless, so I just asked her to go out and help me do something. It turns out that this is the case. It seems that today is for nothing. Xia Lin nodded. I'm disappointed not to see Kaneko-chan. Xia Lin-kun. Himejima Aquino teased. Xia Lin, that's right, after all I'm only second. Even if I agree to Xia Lin's confession, I won't be favored. Oh. Himejima Aquino gently covered her face with her hands, showing a very sad look. Riaz also looked at Himejima Aquino speechlessly and sighed. Aquino, you're acting too much. Ah, yes. But now I'm a poor character left out by a half-hearted boyfriend. Himejima Aquino blinked, and the sadness on her face were swept away, replaced by the quirkiness of a girl. Really? Blame me. It seems that you have been left out in the past 2 days. Come on, let me take care of you. Having said that, Xia Lin stepped forward with a smile, wanting to take Himejima Aquino into her arms and take advantage of her. Ah. Himejima Aquino let out an exclamation, obviously not expecting that Xia Lin would be so bold, and quickly stepped aside. When she saw Xia Lin stopped halfway and looked at her with a half-smile, Himejima Aquino realized that she had been tricked and stared at Xia Lin angrily. You too. Riaz caressed her forehead weakly, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. By the way, Xia Lin, if you really have nothing to do, you can go and see Kaneko. Riaz changed the subject. What is Kaneko doing? Xia Lin asked curiously. Actually, apart from you, there is another person I like in Q Academy. I want to make him my vassal, but there is still one thing I haven't confirmed, so I asked Kaneko to help me watch him. Riaz explained. Who is it? Xia Lin raised her eyes. She already had the answer in her heart. Riaz replied, second grade Hyodo Issei. It's him. Xia Lin thought so. Himejima Aquino asked curiously, does Xia Lin also know this person? After all, he's quite famous, one of the lewd trio. Although I haven't seen him, the girls in the class occasionally talk about him. With a shrug of Xia Lin's shoulders, Hyodo Issei is actually a wonderful person who can ruin his reputation to the point where the whole school is famous, and even the freshmen know it. Another problem child, Riaz. Himejima Aquino laughed teasingly and glanced at Xia Lin. If he's really a sacred gear holder, even a problem child, I'll correct him. Riaz said confidently. Not sure yet. Xia Lin's expression changed and asked. Hyodo Issei does have various signs of being a sacred gear holder, but there are also surprises in this kind of thing. It's not that this happened in the past. Obviously the breath is similar to a sacred gear holder, and it also has the characteristics of a sacred gear holder. But it's just the case of an ordinary person. Riaz thought for a while and explained, it's rare. It's really rare, and all I know of are very isolated instances. Riaz nodded, so it can only be regarded as an accident. In this way it can be regarded as certain. Xia Lin nodded slightly. So is Kaneko watching him now? Yes. In addition to observation and surveillance, there is naturally the responsibility to protect. Knowing that Riaz sent Kaneko to monitor Hyodo Issei, Xia Lin pondered for a while. In this case, it seems that there is not much time before the official opening of the plot. Xia Lin thought to herself. At this time, although Hyodo Issei was spotted by Riaz, it was not fully confirmed whether he was the holder of the sacred gear, and he was still in the observation stage. Xia Lin was still quite impressed with the plot that started at Devil High School. In other words, when Riaz confirms that Hyodo Issei is the holder of the sacred gear, the plot officially begins. Well, it just so happens that I don't have anything to do today, so I can take a look. It can be regarded as a part of participating in club activities. Xia Lin nodded and said, well. Riaz smiled happily and then contacted Taoju Kaneko. Kaneko, how is your situation? Nothing out of the ordinary. Taoju Kaneko short answer. Then Kaneko, is there anyone around you now? No, Taoju Kaneko replied. Is there something wrong with the minister? I want Xia Lin to watch Hyodo Issei with you so that he can experience club activities beforehand. Is that okay? Taoju Kaneko was silent for about 5 seconds. I see. Let him come over. Kaneko agreed. Riaz walked to the magic circle in the center, activated the magic circle with magic, and the dark room was filled with dazzling red light. Come inside the magic circle and I'll teleport you to Kaneko's side. Riaz looked at the magic circle and said so. Teleportation array. I didn't expect to experience this legendary thing today. Xia Lin walked up with great interest. Xia Lin-kun, are you curious about the magic circle? Himejima Aquino asked. Well, a very convenient and practical skill. Xia Lin didn't deny it, but frankly admitted that he liked the convenient skill of the teleportation array. If there is a chance, he will definitely learn the teleportation magic. But if you use a magic circle, you need to use magic power to support it, and it is very difficult for ordinary people to awaken magic power. Hajime Aquino explained, under normal circumstances, only the magician family or the human who has signed a contract with the devil or the devil itself can have magic power. The definition of magic in Devil High School is very interesting. In fact, it is the abbreviation of devil's power. If ordinary human beings want to have magic power, they must be involved with devil in order to have magic power. For example, signing a contract with devil or having devil's bloodline is devil's descendant or directly becoming a reincarnated devil. Of course, there are individual special cases, but they are very rare and are not considered. Really, it seems that I have to consider Ria's previous invitation. Xia Lin smiled thoughtfully. Magic. He had just awakened the source of magic power yesterday, and although it was only at the elementary level, he was able to use magic power. Perhaps there are some differences compared to the orthodox devil power. However, it shouldn't be a problem to use the magic power of System Awakening to learn the teleportation array. After all, in Devil High School, in addition to magic, there are other powers such as divine power, demon power, and so on. With these powers, magic such as teleportation can be used. However, there may be some differences. Hearing this, Ria showed a knowing smile and cast an admiring look at Hajime Aquino. Unexpectedly, it was just a teleportation formation that could make Xia Lin let go. It was beyond her expectations. Xia Lin, if you're interested, I can teach you the teleportation formation technique, but Aquino is right. If you want to use the teleportation formation, you really need magic power. Without magic power, you can't use the teleportation formation alone. Ria said with a smile. The teleportation array in Devil is actually a kind of bad street magic, and it doesn't need to be kept secret at all. A bad street magic can be exchanged for Xia Lin's relief, and Ria's feels that she has earned it. Talk later. Xia Lin waved his hand and stepped onto the teleportation formation. When the light completely lit up, his figure disappeared into the teleportation formation. Tasheng classmate, good afternoon. When Xia Lin reappeared, what caught the eye was a cute high school student with silver hair, officially Taoju Kaneko. When seeing Taoju Kaneko, Xia Lin greeted with a smile. When chatting with Rias and others, Xia Lin called Taoju Kaneko Kaneko, but when facing himself, naturally he couldn't be so casual. After all, on the Japanese side, calling by name is a sign of intimacy. Obviously, Taoju Kaneko has a grudge against Xia Lin, and Xia Lin will not try to call him close. Good afternoon. Taoju Kaneko still had the expression of Sanwoo and suddenly said, Konku High School student. What a strange name is that. Xia Lin has the urge to vomit blood. Apart from confessing to the three and responding to Hajime Aquino's molestation, it seems that she is not too hungry. Taoju Kaneko snorted arrogantly, then turned his head and looked elsewhere. Xia Lin glanced around. It was in a corner of the street. By the way, what about Hyodu Issei? Rias asked me to monitor him with you. Why haven't you seen him? Xia Lin asked casually. There. Taoju Kaneko reached out and pointed. Xia Lin looked in the direction of Taoju Kaneko's finger. Game store. Well, before you came, he had been in for a while. Taoju Kaneko replied. And then you hide here and wait for him to come out? Xia Lin asked. Surveillance can't relax. Taoju Kaneko said with a straight face and no longer looked away but looked at the game store earnestly, waiting for Hyodu Issei to come out. Okay, Tasheng, your attitude is too serious. Xia Lin shrugged. Just like the minister and Aquino-senpai, just call me Kaneko. Taoju Kaneko said suddenly. Hearing this, Xia Lin showed a smile, and it seemed that Taoju Kaneko was not really bored with him. No problem. Xia Lin nodded. By the way, Kaneko, you like playing games, right? How do you know? Taoju Kaneko asked in surprise. Her little hobbies are not many, snacks and games. After all, I'm watching you. Xia Lin showed an inexplicable smile and said jokingly, making Taoju Kaneko's golden pupils tremble twice, then snorted softly and stopped talking. After that, Xia Lin took a step and walked towards the game store. What are you doing? Taoju Kaneko stopped the road. As a surveillance officer, he naturally couldn't get too close to Hyodu Issei and be discovered by him. Since it's surveillance, you must always pay attention. You can't see the situation in the game store clearly. If there is an accident inside, we won't have time to stop it. Xia Lin said with a smile and then walked directly into the game store. Taoju Kaneko hesitated, followed behind Xia Lin and walked in together. Walking into the store, Xia Lin naturally set his eyes on the shelves, which were filled with dazzling game packaging boxes. However, Taoju Kaneko is a different picture. The golden pupils looked around vigilantly, as if in Kaneko, take it easy. Xia Lin patted Taoju Kaneko on the shoulder, signaling her not to be so nervous. It's all your fault. Taoju Kaneko's little face is still the kind that has no emotion, but he can hear a hint of resentment. What if Hyodu Issei finds us? Come and visit some shops when you have nothing to do. Isn't it easy to wait outside? Hearing this, Xia Lin laughed. Why are you laughing? Taoju Kaneko clenched his fists and said warningly. If you find it, you will find it. What does it matter? Xia Lin said indifferently. There was no worried look on his face. You, Taoju Kaneko glared at Xia Lin angrily. Are you here to cause trouble on purpose? Okay, it doesn't matter if you are discovered. Xia Lin still looked unconcerned, as if it had nothing to do with herself. This is the task that the minister gave me. I don't want to disappoint the minister. It must be done well without any mistakes. Taoju Kaneko looked at Xia Lin and explained stubbornly. Then don't be so nervous, it's like a normal store shopping. Xia Lin said with a smile, is it the first time you, Kaneko, have performed this kind of surveillance mission? Hearing this, Taoju Kaneko's eyes moved slightly, and after 2 seconds of silence, he reluctantly replied, well, this is the first time. No wonder, Xia Lin shrugged. No wonder what? Taoju Kaneko asked suspiciously. Following behind others like a S***T, sneaky, not technical at all, and nervous like a quail. Xia Lin said like a fluke, fortunately I joined the occult research club in time. If I was one step later, I might be followed by you. I really want to beat you up. Hearing this, Taoju Kaneko finally showed a moving expression on his little face. She stared at Xia Lin angrily, wishing to punch him in the head. It's just that considering that this is in the store and there is still a monitoring task, there is no way to make a big noise and you can only blame it. So, have you ever experienced surveillance before? After calming his dissatisfaction, Taoju Kaneko grabbed the key to Xia Lin's words and asked curiously. No. Xia Lin spreads her hands. I'm a good student. I have nothing to do to spy on what others are doing, idiot. Taoju Kaneko lowered her head, but her clenched fist represented her mood at the moment. Accurate, very upset. I especially wanted to smash Xia Lin's face with my fist. However, even if it is the most superficial means of monitoring people, you can learn a little from TV and books. Xia Lin said indifferently, what are you trying to say? Am I stupid? Taoju Kaneko stared at Xia Lin with golden pupils and wanted Xia Lin to give an explanation. No. It's just that you care too much about the tasks Riaz gave you, so if you care a little, it's messy. Xia Lin said helplessly. As he said that, he pointed to Haodu Ise, who was still wandering around the store. It's just monitoring an ordinary person. There's no need to spend a lot of time. Your S***T's behavior is a little suspicious. There's no need to be nervous, just go shopping as usual. Even if Haodu Ise sees it, he probably won't suspect that you're stalking him. On the contrary, maybe seeing you, that guy is quite happy. Why? Taoju Kaneko asked suspiciously. You're a popular high school idol, cute Taoju Kaneko. Unless Haodu Ise is gay, how could he not be happy to see you? Xia Lin said with a smile. Hearing this, Taoju Kaneko was silent for a while, then nodded and said, I see. Then she waved her fist again and threatened, don't say I'm a S***T, be careful, I'll beat you up. Xia Lin smiled. While Haodu Ise hasn't left, let's buy something. It's a normal date and there's no doubt about it. Not a date, just a mission partner. Taoju Kaneko lowered his head slightly and retorted, do as you say, but I still need to keep an eye on Haodu Ise. Taoju Kaneko did not refuse. She felt that what Xia Lin said was very reasonable, and Xia Lin was just here to assist her. She did not need to stare at Haodu Ise like her. Xia Lin went to get a shopping basket, glanced over the various containers, and then came to the new product area. It seems that a lot of new games have been released recently. Taoju Kaneko's eyes flicked to Haodu Ise and then to the game container. Obviously, those new games have a lot of appeal to her. However, because I needed to stare at Haodu Ise at the moment, I held back the urge in my heart. Seeing this, Xia Lin smiled and then carefully paid attention to the game on which her eyes stayed. Quite a lot, there are a dozen. However, Xia Lin did not hesitate and simply put these dozen games into the shopping basket. Why do you buy so many games? Taoju Kaneko opened his mouth in surprise when he saw the basket full of games. Actually, I also like playing games, but after I came to Q Academy, I was busy doing other things, so I haven't had time to play. Xia Lin explained with a smile. After school started, I had a little free time. It happened that I bought it at one time today, and I will have fun in the future. Taoju Kaneko's eyes flashed with envy. Although she said that she often buys game CDs, she has never bought as many as Xia Lin did at one time. After all, even if she is devil, she is still a student at present, and the rewards she usually earns through devil contracts are often not money, but other substitutes. Therefore, Taoju Kaneko's pocket money is definitely not as good as Xia Lin. There is no way to make such a generous shot like him. Such a basket of games is conservatively estimated to cost hundreds of thousands of yen. By the way, Kaneko, give me your summoning contract card by the way. What do you want this thing for? Kaneko said suspiciously. With so many games I might not be able to play by myself. Xia Lin explained. Besides, when it comes to playing games, it's really boring to play alone at home, and finding someone to play with will make you twice as happy. I don't have any particularly familiar friends, so I can only use the devil contract to find a playmate. Kaneko, you are also a devil, so this kind of task should be acceptable, right? Xia Lin looked at Taoju Kaneko with a smile, waiting for her answer. Taoju Kaneko's pupils moved slightly, and he looked at the games in Xia Lin's basket and was very moved. After a while, she took out a card with a magic circle drawn on it from her pocket. Here, don't lose it. Don't worry, I will keep it well. Xia Lin took the summoning card and carefully put it in the wallet. Seeing this, Taoju Kaneko raised a slight arc at the corner of his mouth, which soon disappeared. Playing games is just an excuse. Finding a proper reason to reconcile with Taoju Kaneko is Xia Lin's goal. Otherwise, Xia Lin would have been despised by Taoju Kaneko all the time, and Xia Lin also felt a headache. Xia Lin looked at Taoju Kaneko and found that after agreeing to her request, she seemed to be in a good mood. Sure enough, it was the right thing to do. This pervert. Suddenly, the words came out of Kaneko's mouth. I don't care about you, right? I have a temper when I suddenly scold me. Xia Lin frowned, a little depressed, not particularly wanting to get used to Taoju Kaneko. Could it be that her sinister intentions were discovered by her? Nor should it. It seems that his request is also very reasonable and there is no rudeness. Why was he called pervert all of a sudden? Not about you. Taoju Kaneko explained and then pointed to a place. Xia Lin was stunned for a moment, then followed Taoju Kaneko's fingers and looked over. Holding two game boxes in his hand, Hayao Ise wandered around the periphery of a commodity area, seemingly hesitating, but after he glanced around and saw that there was nothing unusual, he immediately walked in. And what that area sells, the adult series. Seeing this, Xia Lin showed a smile that all men understand. You too. Seeing the strange smile on Xia Lin's face, Taoju Kaneko said with a light snort. Xia Lin shrugged helplessly, which was completely different from before but had a coquettish tone. Of course he wouldn't mind. It is estimated that he will buy it soon. I will go and pay first. Xia Lin still understands Hayao Ise very well, he said. Okay. Taoju Kaneko nodded. Then Xia Lin carried the basket to the counter and paid the bill, which cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars for a dozen games. Fortunately, his wallet is enough and there is no pain in the flesh. Holding the bag to pack the game, Xia Lin returned to Taoju Kaneko's side. I'll help you carry some. Seeing that Xia Lin was carrying a bag in his left and right hands, Taoju Kaneko stretched out his hand and wanted to help Xia Lin share a little. And Xia Lin glanced at her half-smile. I'm very strong. Taoju Kaneko shook his fist. Thanks. Xia Lin didn't refuse either, thanking him with a smile. At this time, being a gentleman is obviously inappropriate. Taoju Kaneko showed good intentions to himself. If he refused, it would be very rude, and it might make the relationship between the two people just eased up again. You are welcome. Taoju Kaneko took half of it from Xia Lin, and it seemed that he had to share more. But Xia Lin pretended not to see it and put his eyes directly on the adult game area. Hayao Ise strolled around the adult game area for a few minutes and quickly came out of it in a hurry. And the game box in his hand has also changed from 2 to 3. After the system was strengthened, Xia Lin's eyesight was very good, and he naturally saw that he sandwiched the newly selected adult game between two ordinary games. Seeing this, Xia Lin couldn't help but chuckle in her heart. She really had the demeanor of a high school student. After coming out of the adult play area, Hayao Ise seemed to be very experienced and immediately walked over to the counter as if nothing was wrong. Very skilled, he took out his wallet and paid the money, and then put the game into his shoulder bag. Hayao Ise's face was calm, but his eyes were very excited. He even quickened his pace and wanted to fly. Nausea. Taoju Kaneko showed a very disgusted look, and he obviously hated seeing Hayao Ise buying adult games. Let's go, let's follow. Seeing Hayao Ise walking out of the store excitedly, Xia Lin also said casually, Okay. Taoju Kaneko nodded and the two followed behind Hayao Ise, tens of meters behind, not far or near. After buying the game from the store, Hayao Ise didn't seem to have anything else to do. He was happy and unrestrained all the way, and he was so nervous that he went home without delay. That's it for today's task. After seeing Hayao Ise walk into the house, Taoju Kaneko's task was also completed. She didn't like Hayao Ise very much and didn't want to stay any longer. See you tomorrow then. Xia Lin also said goodbye with a smile, looked at the game bag in Taoju Kaneko's hand and said, By the way, let's put these games there for now. Why? Taoju Kaneko wondered. These are enough for me to play in my hands for the time being. If they are placed at home, they will also eat ashes. If they are placed in yours, they can also play a role. And isn't there this one? Xia Lin took out the summoning card, shook it and said, if you want to play, you can just summon you. Then, just leave me here first. Taoju Kaneko hesitated for a while, seeing the smile on Xia Lin's face did not refuse. I will answer your call. Taoju Kaneko said seriously. Okay, if I have time, I'll call you. Xia Lin shook the game in her hand. Hearing this, Taoju Kaneko was in a good mood and turned to leave. After seeing Taoju Kaneko leave, Xia Lin glanced at Hyodu Issei's house and narrowed her eyes slightly. Promise Rias to accompany Taoju Kaneko to monitor Hyodu Issei, not only to pass the boring time, but also to complete the side quests of the system. Now that I know Hyodu Issei's address, it's a good gain. After thinking for a while, Xia Lin turned to leave and returned home. After returning home, Xia Lin put down the game, changed clothes, rested for a while and went out for dinner. By the time dinner was over, it was already dark. After buying a mask from the convenience store and withdrawing 200,000 yen from the ATM, Xia Lin came to Hyodu Issei's house again. System, will people die after using the Sacred Gear loot card? Looking at the brightly lit home of Hyodu Issei, Xia Lin asked the system in her mind. Won't. The system's icy mechanical voice sounded, however, if the plundered resist strongly, there may be a chance of failure. Pit stuff, Xia Lin cursed inwardly. It's still a chance thing. When she heard no, Xia Lin felt very relaxed. After all, she had no grievances with Hyodu Issei. If she stole his sacred gear, it would be too much to kill him. Although, according to Xia Lin's style, even if Hyodu Issei knew that taking away the sacred gear would kill Hyodu Issei, he would still do it, and at most it would be a period of guilt. However, when she heard the last sentence, Xia Lin was in a bad mood. Forget it as long as he doesn't resist at that time. Xia Lin also quickly figured it out. He surveyed the surroundings, and after confirming that no one was watching, he put on his mask and climbed up the balcony on the second floor of Hyodu Issei's house after a few vertical jumps. Outside the house, Xia Lin has already figured out the general structure of Hyodu Issei's house. Like this ordinary house, the internal structure is similar, so it is not difficult to find out the structure. When Xia Lin jumped onto the balcony on the second floor, she easily found Hyodu Issei's room. There was no one in the corridor on the second floor. From the entrance of the stairs, the voice of the TV and conversation on the first floor could be heard. The Hyodu Issei family should be on the first floor. At this time, most families are at mealtime, and the Hyodu Issei family should have dinner on the first floor. There was no one on the second floor, but Xia Lin followed her wishes. If you accidentally bump into Hyodu Issei's parents, it will be a problem. After all, for now, Xia Lin won't remove the magic of memory. Otherwise, there is no need to come to Hyodu Issei's house in disguise. Xia Lin glanced at the stairs and listened to the conversation of the Hyodu Issei family with the system-enhanced extraordinary hearing. It looks like Hyodu Issei will be back in half an hour at most. According to the chat content of Hyodu Issei's family, Xia Lin calculated the time, and the time for dessert after meal will not exceed half an hour at most. Hyodu Issei should go upstairs. After having an idea in her mind, Xia Lin walked directly to the door of Hyodu Issei's room, opened the door and walked in. There's still some time, just wait. It only takes half an hour at most, and Xia Lin can still wait for this time, and he still has this patience. Although he also wanted to rush downstairs and beat Hyodu Issei, he simply ended the mission neatly. However, if we do that, it is estimated that there will be a lot of trouble in the future. For the convenience of the future, Xia Lin decided that it is better to wait. Xia Lin's eyes fell on Hyodu Issei's desk, with the games that had been opened on it. Xia Lin walked over with great interest. The cover of the game was very exciting. It was the adult game that Hyodu Issei bought. The computer desktop of the desk is a very clean blue sky and white clouds, but there is a hidden window on the taskbar. Idle is idle. Xia Lin thought for a while, then sat beside the computer carelessly. He didn't have any awareness of being in someone else's house. He opened the hidden window and started playing games to pass the time. After playing for more than 10 minutes, Xia Lin put down the mouse because he heard footsteps. Pat. There was the sound of the handle being turned on the door. I must play the customs clearance today. I heard that the final CG is very exciting. Hyodu Issei looked eager and excited with a little bit of lewdness on his face. After opening the door, he rushed in impatiently. However, the scene in the room made him stunned and startled. A masked man is sitting at his desk and the computer's game window is opened. It is the adult game he plays before dinner. Who are you? Why are you in my room? Hyodu Issei asked stupidly. Being a high school student, he didn't have much vigilance. He didn't have much fear when he saw a strange guy with a mask in his room. He didn't think that he might be a gangster or something. Just feel a little weird. Hello, Xia Lin stood up and said politely. Oh, how are you? Haodu Isit didn't react for a while and replied blankly. No, is this the time to say hello? Who the hell are you, strange guy, and why are you in my room? Haodu Isit immediately came back to his senses and asked in a loud voice. I heard that you are very strong, so I will challenge you. Xia Lin said playfully. Strong strength. Do you mean playing games? Haodu Isit asked nervously. Xia Lin was a little amused. The protagonist was really big-hearted. At this time, he even thought of the weird idea of playing games. Forget it, no nonsense. Xia Lin shook her head, not intending to waste any more time lest she have more dreams at night. What? Haodu Isit was startled. He saw Xia Lin's figure jumped out from the place suddenly, like an inhuman, very fast. Haodu Isit was stunned for a moment, then turned around and ran away without saying a word. Unfortunately, the speed is too slow. Xia Lin suddenly rushed in front of Haodu Isit. In Haodu Isit's eyes, the mask was infinitely enlarged and replaced by a fist. Boom. Xia Lin smashed Haodu Isit's stomach with a fist, knocking him out and hitting the wall. It hurts. Haodu Isit grinned, and the pain was so painful that his tears were about to flow out. He cursed, "You be *****d, who the hell are you? What are you doing to beat me?" Xia Lin didn't speak, walked to Haodu Isit's side, and under Haodu Isit's frightened eyes he calmly punched him again. This time it was completely quiet. Haodu Isit leaned softly against the wall, his head tilted to one side and passed out. Ding, congratulations to the host, the side quest. The defeat of the Emperor has been completed, the rewards are being distributed, please check. Get a Sacred Gear loot card and get 100 points. A series of beeps tell Xia Lin that the task has been completed. Discover the Sacred Gear holder, use the Sacred Gear loot card, the voice of the system asked. Xia Lin didn't answer immediately but gave Haodu Isit another call. Haodu Isit's body trembled twice, but there was no other reaction. Use the Sacred Gear to loot cards. After seeing that Haodu Isit was beaten into a deep coma by himself, and there should be no sense of resistance, Xia Lin thought to himself. A burst of light flashed up, covering Haodu Isit, enveloping it within. The next moment, a burst of red light gushed out from Haodu Isit's body, and the body of this red light was a ferocious gauntlet. Exactly the cage hand of the Red Dragon Emperor, one of the 13 Longinus. There was a trace of heat in Xia Lin's eyes. One of Longinus, this is good stuff. Even with Xia Lin's current strength, there may be no way to fully utilize Longinus abilities. However, at least the future strength is guaranteed. Moreover, the ability of the Red Dragon Emperor's cage hand is enhanced, simple and rude, which is very suitable for Xia Lin. Xia Lin stretched out his hand towards the Red Dragon Emperor's caged hand, and when his palm touched it, the hand-length armor instantly turned into a red light and merged into Xia Lin's arm. When the Red Dragon Emperor's caged hand was completely integrated into Xia Lin's right hand, the blooming red light disappeared in an instant, and the room shrouded in red light returned to its original state. Ding. The Sacred Gear loot card is successfully used. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Longinus, the cage hand of the Red Dragon Emperor. Added equipment column, please check. Hearing this familiar sound, the corners of Xia Lin's mouth twitched slightly, revealing a satisfied smile. Equipment bar. Xia Lin opens the panel. Host, Xia Lin race, human rating, Samsung strength assessment. The comprehensive strength of this world can reach the level of intermediate gods and demons. Abilities, basic body technique D, basic sword technique D, intuition D, eye of death C, draw sword E, eye of annihilation B, equipment. Longinus Red Dragon Emperor's cage hand B+, refined katana F B+ for Longinus. The sudden appearance of a new grade made Xia Lin stunned. She originally thought it was only ABCD, but she didn't expect an extra plus sign. What's going on with this grade system? Xia Lin asked. Class A is a watershed. The system gave a short answer. Is that so? Xia Lin nodded and didn't ask too much. Longinus was just a B+ rating, so an A rank would definitely be something that could easily rival the Transcendent rank or even directly surpass the Transcendent rank. It has nothing to do with him for the time being, and Xia Lin didn't think much about it. Xia Lin's heart moved, and Longinus, who had disappeared on his right hand, reappeared. The scarlet hand armor immediately covered his arm. The hand armor was clearly layered, like it was made of cold scales, which was slightly hideous. Looking at the Red Dragon Emperor's caged hand, Xia Lin smiled. He could feel that this Longinus had the same heart as him. Although the gauntlet looked strange and uncomfortable, Xia Lin felt that the Longinus seemed to be connected to her own hand, and no matter what movement she made, there was no obstruction or discomfort. The next moment, Xia Lin's mind moved. Boost. The green gem on the back of the red dragon emperor's cage hand emitted a burst of light, and then a low voice came out. As the deep voice fell, the power in the red dragon emperor's caged hands was transmitted to all parts of the body, making Xia Lin feel the abundant power in his body immediately. Strengthen. Xia Lin moved the right hand covered by the gauntlet. Feeling the doubled power clearly, Xia Lin smiled with satisfaction, and then retracted the red dragon emperor's caged hand to restore the original white palm. The most basic ability of the dragon hand of the red dragon emperor is to strengthen and multiply. And this basic ability is said to infinitely increase the strength of the sacred gear holder. Of course, this infinite increase is only theoretical. So far, no host has been able to achieve unlimited growth. Moreover, the limit of this ability is determined according to the strength of the host itself. The stronger the basic ability of the host itself, the more times the enhanced booster can be used. Xia Lin estimates that with his current strength, he should be able to maintain 10 boosts for a long time and use 20 boosts for a short period of time. If it exceeds this limit, the body may not be able to bear it and collapse directly. This situation in the original plot Hyodo Ise also encountered is not a strange thing. After all, the Longinus is just a super weapon, not a panacea. There's no way to do things other than the sacred gear itself, taking the red dragon emperor's cage back. Xia Lin walked to the desk again, tore a piece of paper, picked up a pen, and wrote some warning words with his left hand, and he left behind another 200 yen, which was previously at the ATM. The money taken out of it is for this moment. No amnestics, carrots, and sticks is the best way to shut people up. After doing all this, Xia Lin locked the door and jumped out of the window to leave. It hurts. More than 40 minutes after Xia Lin left, Hyodo Ise finally woke up from the coma dizzy. Hyodo Ise opened his eyes with difficulty, he moved his body, and the pain that came from his face made him grin in pain. Who the hell is that damn B***********? D? When he first woke up, Hyodo Ise was still dizzy, and there was a lump in his head, but the intense pain suddenly reminded him of what happened before he fell into a coma. He was knocked out by a strange guy with a mask. Suddenly, Hyodo Ise shuddered, glanced at the room, jumped up from the ground, stumbled open the door, and rushed out. Mom and Dad. Hyodo Ise rushed to the first floor and shouted anxiously, "Ah, Ise, what's wrong? You're so nervous." Hyodo Ise's parents glanced at their son strangely and asked in confusion, "What's wrong with your face? Why does it seem to be swollen?" "Ah, hiss," Hyodo Ise gasped in pain. He was so anxious just now that all the muscles in his face were pulling at the wound, making him grin. "It's okay, I accidentally fell down when I was in the room just now and hit my face." Hyodo Ise made up an excuse not to worry his parents. "Then I'll go back first." Seeing that his parents were safe and sound, Hyodo Ise was relieved and walked upstairs without thinking. Oh, it's so big and it's still so frizzy. At this rate, Ise may not be able to marry a wife. Looking at Hyodo Ise, both parents sighed with sad expressions on their faces. Hyodo Ise, who was halfway there, couldn't help but twitched. What kind of parents don't care about the wound on his face, but worry about whether he will be a bachelor in the future? This idea is simple. With a very complicated mood, Hyodo Ise opened the door and glanced at his room with some vigilance. After seeing no one, he walked in with confidence. The scene of seeing Xia Lin just now scared him a lot, and it is estimated that it will leave a shadow. Before entering the room in the future, he will investigate it first. After returning to his room again, Hyodo Ise finally noticed a pile of things on his desk. Money. Hyodo Ise's eyes widened and he rushed over immediately, seeing the large stack of Japanese coins. He couldn't help swallowing. He was convinced that the money was not his own. Hyodo Ise picked up the note that Xia Lin left on the table. "I thought you were a strong man, but I didn't expect you to be a weak chicken. Maybe I found the wrong person. The 200,000 yuan on the table is my apology for hitting you tonight. You can go to the doctor. And don't leak what happened tonight. If you let me know that you licked it, I will come to you again. After reading this piece of paper, burn it." These are what Xia Lin left behind. What an amazing look. Hyodo Ise looked at the note and then at the 200,000 on the table. Really 200,000? Hyodo Ise opened his mouth and excitedly picked up the stack of 10,000 yen and counted them one by one. No more, no less, exactly 200,000. And according to the note, the 200,000 was for him. Happiness came too suddenly. 200,000 can be said to be a huge sum of money for high school students. It's almost a year's worth of pocket money. It's 200,000 if you get hit once. This is really great deal. Hyodo Ise couldn't help shouting in his heart. As for going to the hospital on the note, what hospital to go to? Just put a band-aid on this little injury. Hyodo Ise holds 200,000 yuan in his hand, and he has already fantasized about what CDs to buy tomorrow, some adult games and DVDs, but he has been thinking about it for a long time. If Xia Lin were here, Hyodo Ise really wanted to shout, "Dad hit me again." After returning home, Xia Lin couldn't help but try to use the Red Dragon Emperor's cage hand. The power of strengthening and multiplying is indeed fascinating. In addition to the requirements and limits for the host, it can almost be said to be a perfect sacred gear, which can increase the strength in an instant without paying anything. And it is not the kind of slow improvement step by step, but the increase of geometric curves in the form of doubling. It was mentioned in the plot that several former Red Dragon Emperors were obsessed with power and self-destructed. After using the Red Dragon Emperor's cage hand, Xia Lin kind of understood why such a tragedy happened. This is just the basic ability of the Red Dragon Emperor's cage. On top of it, there is a more advanced Forbidden Hand mode. There is even a Tyrannosaurus mode that is comparable to the Beyonder. If he can't stick to his heart, he will really be captured by Longinus power and become a slave of power. And this kind of self-destruction, even D-Drag and Longinus can't stop it and won't stop it. He will only choose to watch from the sidelines, quietly watching the host die and then reselect a new host. However, Xia Lin is not worried that she will be eroded by Longinus. Not to mention that he has a system by his side, Longinus is different from other hosts. On other hosts, the sacred gear is a life-sustaining thing, almost connected to life. But for Xia Lin, it's just a useful tool and it doesn't matter much. What's more, Xia Lin himself had foresight. If he really encountered the erosion of Longinus, he should directly abandon Longinus. Looking at the ferocious gauntlet on his right hand, Xia Lin tried to call the Red Dragon Emperor D-Drag, who was living in Longinus several times, but unfortunately he didn't get a response. I don't know if it was because of the host change or because D-Drag was unwilling to come out. In short, Xia Lin called several times but got no response. Familiar with the Red Dragon Emperor's cage hand, Xia Lin took it back and fell asleep. The next day, although he robbed Hyodo Ise's Longinus, Xia Lin went to class as usual, as if nothing happened. Kyo Gakuin was also the same as usual and nothing special happened. It's just that because of what happened yesterday, the girls in the class became a lot more courageous. They wanted to be Xia Lin's girlfriends when they opened their mouths and closed their mouths. This kind of enthusiasm made Xia Lin overwhelmed, painful and happy until school. Shortly after the school bell rang in the afternoon, a cute girl with short silver hair stood at the door of the classroom, glanced inside and landed on Xia Lin. "Huh, isn't that Kaneko-chan? Why are students from Tasheng coming to our class?" "Xia Lin, isn't he here to find you? Yesterday, I learned from Xia Lin that he has joined the Occult Research Club, and aside from Xia Lin, the class didn't intersect with Taoju Kaneko. Xia Lin, are you going to the Occult Research Club next?" Taoju Kaneko spoke. His voice was cold and clear, making people feel a little distant. "It doesn't seem to have anything to do in a while. You can go and stay for a while." Xia Lin thought for a second and nodded. "Let's go together then." Taoju Kaneko said. Seeing Taoju Kaneko's seemingly unconnected but somewhat expectant look, Xia Lin couldn't help but smile. It seemed that yesterday's events still had some effect. According to the previous situation, Taoju Kaneko would never have invited him to the Occult Research Club. After all, being treated as a pervert by the other party, I'm afraid it's too late to escape, so why would he come to invite him in person? Okay, let's go then. Xia Lin walked towards Taoju Kaneko with a smile, and the two went to the Occult Research Club together. Old school building, Occult Research Club. Ria stood by the window looking at the playground not far away. Her eyes fell on one person, but her brows were tightly wrinkled. And that person was Hyodo Ise, who put a band-aid on his face and happily chatted with his two friends about something inappropriate for children. The girls passing by all looked contemptuous, as if they had seen flies and they wished to hurry up and keep away from the three of them, lest they be infected with some virus. But the three of them didn't realize it. As if they had done something big, they chatted excitedly for themselves. "Riaz, what's wrong?" Himejima Aquino asked. She saw Riaz leaning against the edge of the window, her brows furrowed, as if she had encountered some difficulty, so she couldn't help but want to know the reason. Riaz turned her head and opened her mouth to answer when there was a knock on the door. "Please come in," Riaz said to the door. The voice fell, the door was opened, and Taoju Kaneko and Xia Lin walked into the Occult Research Club together. Ara, Kaneko-chan and Xia Lin came together. Himejima Aquino put one hand on her cheek and said teasingly with a meaningful smile, "It seems that the relationship between the two of you is reconciled." Riaz also looked at the two with satisfaction and said with a smile, It's just that Xia Lin is next to my class, so let him come with me, Taoju Kaneko explained proudly. Ah, Kaneko-chan, if it was before you wouldn't explain much, it's not like your style. Haimjima Aquino thought it was very interesting and joked with a smile. Hearing this, Taoju Kaneko was startled, then walked to the sofa and sat down without speaking. Xia Lin-kun has a lot of skills, just one mission, let Kaneko recognize you. Haimjima Aquino gave Xia Lin a wink. How Xia Lin, how did you feel about yesterday's mission? Riaz asked with a smile. Fortunately, it's a simple task and Kaneko is there to help. Xia Lin replied, compared to hunting the lost devil, this kind of surveillance mission might be a little boring. Riaz explained, by the way, did you find anything strange when you monitored Hyodu Ise yesterday? A strange place. Xia Lin's heart was shocked, but on the surface, it was as if nothing had happened and asked in a feigned doubt. Minister Hyodu Ise went to buy Eroge games yesterday. Taoju Kaneko said the exit. In her opinion, this is the strangest place. What about other than that? Riaz asked. Xia Lin replied, no, Kaneko and I have been watching Hyodu Ise come home and there is nothing strange about it. No yet? Riaz frowned as if she was thinking about something with a hint of disappointment on her pretty face. Well, no more. Taoju Kaneko lowered his eyes and tried his best to think about the scene of watching Hyodu Ise yesterday, but he finally shook his head and said, Minister, is something wrong? Taoju Kaneko asked with concern. Taoju Kaneko also noticed something was wrong. Riaz kept asking her and Xia Lin if they found something strange when they were monitoring yesterday. It should be something wrong with Hyodu Ise. However, Taoju Kaneko thought hard. Yesterday's surveillance mission has been smooth, no obstacles and no strange places. Well, maybe I saw it wrong. Riaz sighed, her brows filled with disappointment. Wrong? What's wrong? Xia Lin asked curiously. Riaz, you have been frowning since just now. Have you encountered any problems? Tell us and let us solve it together. Haimjima Aquino also asked with great concern. She and Riaz had been together all the time and naturally found something wrong with Riaz. From just now, Riaz's face had a hint of sadness. Riaz shook her head and said, it's about Hyodu Ise. About him. Haimjima Aquino glanced strangely out of the window, just in time to see the Hyodu Ise trio who were chatting mindlessly. Yes, I may have misunderstood again. Riaz glanced at Hyodu Ise in the distance, then sighed helplessly and said so. She found that the number of times she had been wrong recently was a little too much. Should I wash my eyes? Looking wrong, Minister, is there anything special about Hyodu Ise? Taoju Kaneko asked. The monitoring task for Hyodu Ise was assigned to her by Riaz, and she was sure to complete it well. Now that Riaz mentioned Hyodu Ise, she was naturally very worried. Not a special place, but... Riaz smiled dryly, looking very helpless. Maybe Hyodu Ise is not a sacred gear holder, I misunderstood. What? Taoju Kaneko was taken aback for a moment. His golden pupils were full of surprise. Obviously, he didn't expect such a result. But when I spied on him yesterday, he did have the fluctuations that a sacred gear holder should have. How could that be? Taoju Kaneko asked in surprise. I'm not too sure either. Riaz could only helplessly rub her brows. Obviously, what happened to Hyodu Ise made her very tired. Although when talking with Xia Lin yesterday, Riaz said that Hyodu Ise might be a pseudo-sacred gear holder. However, in reality, Riaz didn't have much worries in her heart. She was almost certain that Hyodu Ise was the holder of the sacred gear, and he was chosen as the new chess piece. However, what I didn't expect was that this situation was really encountered by her. No matter how good Riaz's cultivation is, she still wants to swear in her heart at this moment. That is to say, there is no 1 in 10 situation that you have encountered. Instead, Xia Lin laughed, gloating over the misfortune and watching the show. There's absolutely no way he's the one who started it. Roughly the same. Riaz rolled her eyes at Xia Lin, but she was not angry. Today, the aura of the sacred gear on Hyodu Ise is very weak, almost dissipating. He should not be the real sacred gear holder. He may just be contaminated with the scent of the sacred gear. So he has the characteristics of a sacred gear holder, which makes me misunderstood. No matter how clear Riaz's thoughts are, she never imagined that Hyodu Ise's sacred gear was actually taken away by Xia Lin. After all, under normal circumstances, an ordinary human sacred gear host will lose his life if the sacred gear is taken away. However, seeing how Hyodu Ise was alive and kicking, it didn't look like the sacred gear was taken away at all, not even weak. In such an abnormal situation, even Riaz would not have thought of the reason. Therefore, we can only infer a more reasonable answer based on the original idea. Hyodu Ise may have been contaminated by sacred gear unintentionally, so he has the characteristics of a sacred gear holder. Since it is only contaminated by the sacred gear, not the sacred gear holder, the characteristics and aura will naturally disappear over time. Otherwise, there is no proper answer beyond that. Should you be lucky or unlucky? Xia Lin said with a laugh. There was no abnormality on his face. It was exactly like a friend who saw his friend was deflated and mocked each other. It is naturally impossible to say about the fact that he took Longinus from Haodu Ise. Anyway, let this thing completely rot in the stomach. It seemed that he had to learn some practical magic from Riaz and the others, for example, the magic of erasing memories. Xia Lin secretly planned. Riaz sighed. If you comfort Riaz at this time, maybe you will be able to take advantage of it. Xia Lin-kun, don't come again when you can't miss it. Haimjima Aquino said with a joking smile. Oh, how to comfort. Xia Lin glanced at Haimjima Aquino and said playfully. Riaz is missing an important piece now and she's been hit hard. If you agree, no talk. Before Haimjima Aquino's words were finished, Xia Lin simply refused. It's too impersonal, Mr. Xia Lin. Haimjima Aquino looked at Xia Lin resentfully, but Xia Lin simply chose to ignore it, which made Haimjima Aquino very angry. Riaz felt tired. The previously optimistic Haodu Ise is a fake, and the optimistic Xia Lin in front of him doesn't make any money, so he doesn't agree to become a dependent. There is no sacred gear on Haodu Ise. Maybe the person around him may be the host of the sacred gear. Or some kind of sacred gear deliberately left a breath on Haodu Ise to confuse the public. There, Xia Lin began to make a few blind analyses and induced them to follow Ria's train of thought. You're right. Ria's eyes lit up, and she seemed to grasp something in her mind. Sacred gear has a variety of functions, and sacred gear hosts are dangerous to a certain extent. If they are found to be uncontrollable, the three parties will even erase and capture the sacred gear holder. Perhaps the aura on Haodu Ise's body was the means used by the original sacred gear holder to confuse the outside world, to divert their attention. That is to say, if you follow this clue, you might be able to find the real sacred gear holder. But forget it, this matter is here for the time being. Riaz thought for a while and found that her thinking might be correct, but she still had no clue about how to operate it. In Haodu Ise's social circle, Riaz knew that there was no special person in it. If that sacred gear holder was really just trying to confuse people and hide his true identity, it's unlikely that he would stay around Haodu Ise. In this case, we want to find out the true identity of the sacred gear holder. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, maybe even nothing. Riaz glanced at Xia Lin, suddenly enlightened. Rather than go find a phantom sacred gear holder, let's get this one out of the way first. Let's continue with the club activities. Xia Lin, do you want to join? Riaz swept away the loss of color from her brows and said with a smile. What's the content of today's club activities? Hearing Riaz's invitation, Xia Lin asked. The next day is a rest day. We plan to take advantage of these 2 days to conduct a training camp. Riaz replied with a smile. In fact, the Occult Research Club does not have many social activities, such as hunting lost devil, completing devil commission, and then training from time to time back and forth. Training? Xia Lin looked interested. Yes, in fact, even if you don't come here today, I plan to visit you in person and invite you to our training camp. Riaz smiled slightly and said, although the training time is not long, it will improve your strength to a certain extent. Especially for a newcomer like you who has just entered our world, it will definitely be of great benefit to you. That said, I'm really interested. Xia Lin nodded and the interest on her face became even stronger. However, is this okay? After all, I didn't promise to be your servant. Xia Lin asked. I believe that when you get to know us slowly, Xia Lin, you will definitely become my family. Riaz confidently said that Xia Lin was determined to win. Although Xia Lin expressed her resistance to becoming her dependents at the moment, she believed that it was only temporary as long as it took a long time. After Xia Lin really got to know them devil, she would no longer resist. What's more, you are also a member of the Occult Research Club. Training is also a part of the club's activities. It is a matter of course for you to participate in our club activities. Riaz had a good reason. In addition to expressing their kindness, I also want Xia Lin to know more about them, so that things in their magical world can attract Xia Lin and impress Xia Lin. Thanks. Thanks, Xia Lin. Riaz's unreserved attitude really touched Xia Lin, but it was impossible to promise Riaz to become a vassal. Xia Lin is not a pedantic person either. Although he has a certain resistance to becoming a devil, if it is really a last resort, he will definitely choose to merge the devil pieces and become a devil without hesitation. However, now is definitely not the time to be forced. Hearing Xia Lin's thanks, Riaz felt a little satisfied. She felt that she was one step closer to winning Xia Lin. Okay, now that everyone is here, let's get ready to go. Looking around the activity room, Riaz completely put aside the matter of Haodu Ise. Since the other party is not the holder of the sacred gear, it is naturally impossible to win her attention. By the way, Mr. Xia Lin, we will stay in the training camp for the past 2 days. If you have anything to do, you can explain in advance. Haimjima Aquino reminded with a smile and then said as if remembering something. In the training place, everything is complete, so there is no need to bring anything. After all, it will take 2 days to stay and things like daily necessities must be prepared, otherwise, do you want to be a savage for 2 days? Nothing important. Xia Lin shook her head. Let's go then. Riaz clapped her hands, drew everyone's attention back, and then walked to the center of the activity room, activating the red teleportation array. Hearing this, Xia Lin and others also embarked on the teleportation array. The red light flickered, and the 5 people in the center of the teleportation array were immediately teleported away. Space changes. Beautiful scenery, quiet and peaceful. Among the dense woods, there were a few melodious bird calls. The next moment, there was a soft sound in the air, and a red light broke the silence. In a clearing in the woods, a huge magic circle slowly emerged, startling a flying bird. 5 figures appeared on the magic circle, and it was Xia Lin and the others who came from Kyo Academy. The scenery is good, and you can choose a place, Riaz. When the red light disappeared, Xia Lin's eyes lit up at the scenery. I have to say that it is not easy to find such a beautiful place in the city. Really, at the beginning, I also chose several places before I chose this place. Riaz smiled gracefully, lightly fluttered her long red hair and looked forward. There is a property in front of me which was specially built here for training. We have lived there for the past 2 days. Looking down the line of sight, there is indeed a mansion that looks extremely gorgeous in the distance. It's still a long way from where we live, so we'll start from here. Riaz raised her finger in high spirits and pointed to the front. The training camp has officially started. Let's start from here, go to the place where we live and see who arrives first. Of course, the last one will be punished. Today's dinner and dishes will be left to the last one. Riaz smiled lightly. Of course, you can't use magic power and you can't use wings to fly, you can only rely on the basic strength of your body. That's it. Xia Lin chuckled and shook her head, thinking it was a competition, it was too easy. Xia Lin-kun, why are you shaking your head? Don't you think Riaz's competition is very difficult? Haimjima Aquino said playfully. I just feel like I'm taking too much care of me. Xia Lin said with a light smile. Oh, it looks like Xia Lin, are you confident? Riaz smiled and glanced at Xia Lin, then said, but we are not weak, don't be careless. If we lose, we will cook and wash dishes. Haimjima Aquino also said with a smile, I really want to see what Xia Lin's craftsmanship is like. Me too. Taoju Kaneko raised his hand, then I want to try it too. Kiba Yuyudo also said. Xia Lin gave Kiba Yuyudo a sullen look, you're nothing to join in the fun. Ah, Xia Lin-kun, everyone has reached a consensus. Haimjima Aquino raised her face with her right hand and said playfully. In this case, everyone will do their best, and Xia Lin must be placed in the last place today. Riaz clenched her fists and said encouragingly, Hey Tilda. Taoju Kaneko also clenched his fist lightly, but at this moment there was a little excitement on his cute little face. It's a pity you definitely won't be able to taste my craftsmanship today. Xia Lin laughed. Although he has become a public enemy, he doesn't hate this cheerful atmosphere. Let you run for 10 seconds first. Looking at the figure who ran out first, Xia Lin stretched out a finger and said with a smile. Ah, Xia Lin-kun, are you trying to let us? Haimjima Aquino said in surprise. Arrogant. Taoju Kaneko said dissatisfiedly, I must let you cook and wash the dishes. Xia Lin smiled. He is quite sure that after the tenfold strengthening of the system and the strengthening of the Eye of Annihilation, in terms of simple basic physical fitness among the people present, only those who are in the blood of the cat demon and the castle chess pieces among the devil chess pieces are strengthened. Taoju Kaneko can compete with him, and even Kiba Yuyudo, a knight pawn, is slightly inferior to him. The 2 mages, Haimjima Aquino and Riaz, are even worse than him. In that case, I'm welcome. Seeing the appearance of Xia Lin, Riaz gently moved with her right hand and backpacks appeared on the ground, but before this, everyone will bring this, running with weights. Xia Lin looked at the backpack that Riaz got from nowhere and asked, Of course, if we run directly, it won't work for us at all. Riaz nodded, Don't look at it as just a backpack, it has been magically processed and each weighs 500 pounds. Xia Lin, do you want to take back what you just said? Riaz asked teasingly. No difference, Xia Lin shook her head, oh well. Riaz handed the backpacks to everyone. Putting on the backpack, Xia Lin suddenly felt her body sink, but after getting used to it a little, it's okay. 3, 2, 1, start. As the voice fell, 4 figures suddenly ejected from the spot. Start from the place where the teleportation array was opened 3 minutes later. Xia Lin directly turned into an afterimage, leaving the four Rias far behind, arriving at the designated place, the mansion on the top of the mountain. The second person to arrive was naturally Taoju Kaneko. She has the cat's bloodline and the strengthening of the castle chess piece. She has the strongest physical strength. After arriving at the destination, she even breathes smoothly, and Kiba Yuyudo is close behind. In the Occult Research Club, except for Xia Lin, he is the fastest, because the fusion is the knight chess piece. The movement is also the speed flow, and the basic physical fitness is also very good. Hajime Aquino and Rias were always inseparable, and this time it was the same. After the three of Xia Lin reached the finish line, Hajime Aquino and Rias arrived together. The two are not people with physical expertise, they belong to the class of magicians. However, as a high-class devil, the basic stamina is not as good as Taoju Kaneko and Kiba Yuyudo, but it is not too weak. The 3-minute high-speed attack was not difficult for the two of them. You're so fast. After Taoju Kaneko reached the finish line, he stared at Xia Lin with golden pupils, with a hint of unwillingness to admit defeat. He was ahead by 10 seconds but was quickly overtaken by the opponent. Xia Lin, how fast are you? Hajime Aquino had a healthy rosy complexion after a long run, half a smile but not a smile. Her eyes fell lightly on Xia Lin and said in a meaningful way, "Can you add the word speed so as not to cause unnecessary misunderstandings?" Xia Lin's face darkened. This woman couldn't let her find a chance, otherwise she would always drive unintentionally. What misunderstanding? Taoju Kaneko is still a simple novice, looking at Xia Lin with some doubts, not understanding the meaning of Xia Lin's words. Yeah, what's the misunderstanding? I'm just like Kaneko-chan. It's surprising that Xia Lin-kun is so fast. Hajime Aquino said so, pretending to be ignorant, her eyes wandering, and she also stuck out her tongue and licked the corners of her mouth very charmingly, full of charm and temptation. On purpose. Looking at Hajime Aquino's ignorant appearance, Xia Lin was speechless. This woman was definitely suffering from drama again. The problem is that he has nothing to do yet. Is it a misunderstanding to say it in public? Definitely going to be despised by Taoju Kaneko again. You do not know. Xia Lin said lightly, I don't know, why don't Xia Lin explain it to me? Hajime Aquino blinked and said very innocently. Xia Lin said directly, oh, it's fine if you don't know. Hajime Aquino almost didn't hold back her breath. She gave Xia Lin an angry look and wanted to tease him, but she didn't expect that the other party would not answer a word, leaving her unable to start. Here, Xia Lin just glanced at Hajime Aquino indifferently. However, in Hajime Aquino's view, this is a provocation, and he secretly intends to find his way back. Okay, let's rest for 10 minutes. Rias smiled and said so. 10 minutes later, after everyone rested, they came to a very open space, which was specially taken care of for them to train. On the edge of the training ground, equipment, sandbags, weight-bearing items, and other items used for exercise are well prepared. After a brief introduction, everyone started their own training. Xia Lin, do you want to compete with Yuyudo? Hajime Aquino looked at the two and suggested with a smile. And Kiba? Xia Lin glanced at Kiba Yuyudo, shrugged and said, I'm fine, how about you, Kiba? He is still a little interested in training with Kiba Yuyudo, very happy. Hearing this, Kiba Yuyudo's eyes flashed with a high light and there was a hint of excitement on his face. Apparently, he very much agrees with Hajime Aquino's proposal. Ara, it seems that both Xia Lin-kun and Yuyudo are looking forward to this match. I seem to have done something superfluous. Hajime Aquino said with a chuckle. Actually, even if you don't mention Aquino-senpai, I want to have a try with Xia Lin. Kiba Yuyudo nodded. Looks like it's not me, but Yuyudo who made Xia Lin join the Occult Research Club. Rias said with a smile. Xia Lin's face was weird, needless to say it was so weird. By the way, remember that Kiba Yuyudo seemed to have a development in the direction of love in the original plot. Now that Hayao Ise got himself out of the stage, this guy Kiba Yuyudo won't set his sights on me. Thinking of this, Xia Lin couldn't help shivering. Xia Lin is really lucky to join the Occult Research Club. It is very difficult for a swordsman to improve his cultivation alone. If he has a strong opponent, his cultivation will be more efficient. Kiba Yuyudo said shyly, but Xia Lin's expression became even more bizarre. I'm really looking forward to the match between the two now, but to be fair, Yuyudo, don't use your magic. Rias glanced at the two of them with a flash of light in her eyes. Ding, trigger the side quest is being generated. Suddenly, a system prompt sounded in Xia Lin's mind. There's still a job to do, so it looks good. Xia Lin was in a good mood and glanced at the newly produced side quests. Side quest, swordsmanship competition. Quest requirements, have a sword fight with Kiba Yuyudo, win or lose. Mission difficulty, normal mission reward, basic swordsmanship upgrade, sword drawing skill upgrade. Side quests, physical skills competition. Mission requirements: have a physical competition with Taoju Kaneko, win or lose. Mission difficulty: normal mission reward, basic physical skills upgrade, a random skill card. The system has generated 2 side quests and the quest rewards are also good and there is no difficulty. Let's start. Xia Lin walked to the shelf aside and took out a wooden sword. Please advise Xia Lin. Kiba Yuyudo walked to a shelf aside, took out a wooden sword and gave Xia Lin a slight salute. Please advise. Xia Lin also bowed, the voice fell and the next moment the harmonious atmosphere was suddenly broken. Snapped. The 2 figures suddenly ejected from the spot, and the wooden swords in their hands collided, making a crisp sound of wood hitting. After the initial confrontation, the 2 figures staggered and then approached each other again, also accompanied by the incessant sound of wooden swords colliding. Xia Lin's face was calm, and she swung the wooden sword with one hand, slashing towards Kiba Yuyudo. At this moment, he did not open the evil eye of death, but simply relying on the swordsmanship he mastered and the physical quality that surpassed Kiba Yuyudo, he was able to fight against Kiba Yuyudo. Xia Lin, you are really strong, but your swordsmanship today seems to be much gentler than when I saw you that night. With a smile on his face, Kiba Yuyudo was really excited to play against a close opponent. Moreover, his swordsmanship level is very high, and his vision is naturally the same. After fighting with Xia Lin for a while, I discovered the difference between Xia Lin's swordsmanship today and that night. This guy. After hearing Kiba Yuyudo's words, Xia Lin was slightly surprised and could not help but admire him. But in less than a minute of fighting, he was able to judge the style of swordsmanship he used today and that night. After all, it's just a simple discussion, not a life-and-death battle with the enemy, so there's no need to kill so much when using a sword. Xia Lin replied, without using the demon eye of straight death, the lethality of his swordsmanship would not be too great. That's it, that means you still retain a lot of strength. Kiba Yuyudo understood. Xia Lin, be careful, I will be serious next time. Kiba Yuyudo held the sword, his eyes became serious. Xia Lin could feel the change of Kiba Yuyudo's momentum, like a sharp sword unsheathed. Really, isn't that more fun? I'll be a little more serious then. Xia Lin didn't feel any pressure. Instead, she seemed a little excited and bullied herself forward. This time, the offensive between the 2 was even more violent. In the air, the afterimage of the wooden knife fluttered, and both of them used the sword in their hands to the extreme. Xia Lin didn't have any more power left, he used more power, and the speed of swinging his sword was heavier and faster than before, and Kiba Yuyudo was also able to keep up with Xia Lin's attack. Between the 2, you come and I go, evenly matched. Especially the sound of the heavy wooden sword crashing made people worry about whether the wooden sword would break due to the fight between the 2 of them in the next moment. It's amazing, I didn't expect Xia Lin-kun to actually be able to draw a tie with Yuyudo. Hajime Akino stared at the battle between the 2, with a hint of surprise in her eyes. Although it was learned from Kiba Yuyudo's mouth that night that the owner of Xia Lin was not weaker than his swordsmanship, it was truly incredible when he saw it with his own eyes. After all, she knew Kiba Yuyudo's strength. A tie? Not necessarily. Ria shook her head and stared at both of them closely. However, her observations are more nuanced than Hajime Akino. Indeed, in the eyes of outsiders, Xia Lin and Kiba Yuyudo are in a state of tie, but only the 2 of them know the specific situation. In fact, the competition of swordsmanship. It is nothing more than 3 aspects of the competition. Strength, speed, skill. Of course, you can also count combat experience and on-the-spot adaptability. As long as you have the upper hand in these aspects, you will naturally be able to gain the upper hand in the competition. However, from Ria's point of view, Kiba Yuyudo has a tendency to be suppressed by Xia Lin at this moment. In fact, it does. Kiba Yuyudo's hand holding the sword trembled slightly, and his fingers were slightly sore. Every time the wooden sword collided, the huge momentum from the sword body made his hand numb for a while. From holding the sword with one hand to holding the sword with both hands, preventing the wooden sword from suddenly letting go. Even so, he was worried that the next time he collided, the sword in his hand would be knocked into the air. Xia Lin is getting more and more excited and has a strong fighting spirit. Compared to a mentally abnormal opponent like Lost Devil, a kendo player like Kiba Yuyudo is a suitable opponent, allowing him to grow fully in battle. In terms of power, Xia Lin has the upper hand. With the skill of intuition, the gap between Kiba Yuyudo and Kiba Yuyudo in combat experience and on-the-spot response can be ignored for the time being, but there is not much difference between the 2 in terms of speed. Only skill. At this point, Kiba Yuyudo is much stronger than Xia Lin. Every time Xia Lin attacked, it would be resolved by Kiba Yuyudo with a very clever angle, removing more than half of the power of Xia Lin's wooden sword slashing, so that Xia Lin's attack could not exert its normal power at all. However, this made Xia Lin's fighting spirit even more boiling. Looks like Xia Lin may have retained her strength that night. Riaz pondered for a while and came to this conclusion. Compared with the performance that night, Xia Lin's performance at this moment is obviously more brilliant. The strength is also stronger. At the beginning, Xia Lin had to deal with a low-class devil for some time, but now, facing Kiba Yuyudo who doesn't use a sacred gear, he was able to keep up, and even had a tendency to have the upper hand. And from that night to today, it was only 3 days. Riaz didn't think that Xia Lin could make a leap in strength in just 3 days. What's more, Xia Lin spends most of her time at school and doesn't have that much time for training. The only possibility was that what she saw that night was only part of Xia Lin's strength. I really want to see how strong you are. Riaz smiled slightly and then looked at Kiba Yuyudo with a frown. She had a feeling that if the fight continued, Kiba Yuyuto would definitely fall behind or even be defeated by Xia Lin. Kaneko, you should join in too and see where the limit of Xia Lin's strength lies, Riaz said. At this time, the battle situation had already begun to tip to one side, and if the two of them were not allowed to fight with magic power and the sacred gear, the outcome would only be a matter of time. Presumably, the two people in the battle understand better than her. At this time, it should not be a problem to intervene in the battle between the two. I have to say, Riaz really grasped it very well. Kiba Yuyudo was a little bitter and the parry was starting to get a little weak, while Xia Lin felt a little unhappy. Clear. Taoju Kaneko nodded, clenched his fists with both hands and pressed his feet, charging towards the two of them. Okay. Xia Lin, who was engrossed in fighting Kiba Yuyudo, suddenly felt a crisis in his heart, and without any hesitation, he threw a punch behind him without hesitation. It turned out that his hunch was correct, and a small fist was smashing towards him in the corner of his eyes. Boom, the two fists collided in midair. With this powerful recoil, Xia Lin stepped back 2 meters and opened up the distance. With so much power, you're a pervert, Kaneko. Xia Lin frowned, then shook her left hand and said with a frown, you are pervert. Taoju Kaneko retorted with dissatisfaction and then said in surprise, you are also very strong. Not only can he compete with Yuyudo in swordsmanship, but he can even compete with Kaneko in strength. This Xia Lin is really too good. Seeing the scene where Xia Lin and Taoju Kaneko punched each other, Ria's eyes widened in shock, and her beautiful eyes were full of brilliance. Ara Xia Lin-kun made us look at it again. Hajime Akino also looked at Xia Lin in shock, and this scene also surprised her. In terms of swordsmanship, he can only compare with Kiba Yuyudo, but he can even compete with Taoju Kaneko in physical fitness. Although just now, Xia Lin and Taoju Kaneko's one hit prevailed. However, you must know that it was caused by Xia Lin's sneak attack. Without any preparation, she hurriedly fought back. And don't forget, Taoju Kaneko itself is a cat demon with extraordinary physique, and it has also been strengthened by the devil chess piece, the castle. If someone else received this punch from Taoju Kaneko, it would definitely be very uncomfortable. Xia Lin looked a little sore from the punches, but in reality nothing happened. In various unfavorable situations, although Kaneko didn't use his full strength, Xia Lin was able to fight Taoju Kaneko's punch unscathed, blinding Riaz and Hajime Akino. After Taoju Kaneko joined the fray, Xia Lin clearly felt the pressure and the attack turned to defense. In particular, both Kiba Yuyudo and Taoju Kaneko are Ria's family members, and they usually cooperate with each other against the enemy. They have a certain understanding, which makes Xia Lin more stressed. With the cooperation of the two, Xia Lin was directly suppressed. However, it was only suppression. Even if the two cooperated, they could not defeat Xia Lin quickly. Moreover, this unfavorable situation aroused Xia Lin's competitive spirit. In the face of the suppression of the two, Xia Lin became more and more brave, and the use of swordsmanship and taijutsu became more proficient. With the passage of time, on the contrary, there is a tendency to diffuse the suppression of the two. It seems that even the combined attack of Kaneko and Yuyudo can't beat Xia Lin-kun. Do I want to enter the arena and play? Perhaps the battle between the three was a little intense, which aroused Hajime Akino's interest. The flames of interest flashed in Hajime Akino's eyes, and he couldn't help condensing magic power in his hands. The golden thunder light jumped, and there was an urge to try. Okay, let's go here. At this moment, Xia Lin took advantage of her strength to step back and suspend the battle. Hearing this, both Kiba Yuyudo and Taoju Kaneko also stopped. Hey, I haven't entered the venue yet, why did it stop? Hajime Akino glanced at Xia Lin resentfully and said disappointedly, Xia Lin-kun, are you targeting me on purpose? Don't let me participate. Xia Lin breathed a sigh of relief, fighting with the top devil among the two middle-class devils, which obviously consumed a lot of his physical strength. The one-on-one match that was promised is about to turn into a gang fight. You are targeting me, right? Xia Lin glared at Hajime Aquino angrily. Besides, what do you have in your hand? Didn't you say you shouldn't use magic? Is there any? What magic? How come I don't know? Hajime Aquino dissipated the thunder light condensed in his hands for the first time, and then stuck out his tongue playfully, pretending to be stunned, as if I didn't know anything. In the face of Hajime Aquino's shameless appearance, Xia Lin had nothing to say. The sudden announcement of the end of the battle was naturally not because Xia Lin flinched. Rather, the system task has been declared complete. Xia Lin is almost enjoying himself, and there is little chance of winning any further fights. In the case of not opening the magic eye, facing two guys who have a tacit understanding, there is little chance of winning. What's more, there is Hajime Aquino who is staring at him next to him. This is a real high-class devil. However, this guy also intends to use lightning magic to deal with him. Xia Lin didn't think that with the teamwork of Taoju Kaneko and Kiba Yuyudo, he could easily deal with Hajime Aquino's lightning magic. The mission is complete, and the battle is almost full of fun. So simply declare the battle over. Besides, he has no hobby of being struck by lightning. I didn't expect it, Xia Lin. Riaz looked at Xia Lin, and the admiration in her eyes was even more intense with a hint of complexity. Kaneko-chan and Yuyudo have not beaten you together. I really want to see what your real strength looks like. There will be a chance. Xia Lin smiled and said humbly, but I'm just taking advantage of it. After all, when the magic power cannot be used, the strength of Kaneko and Kiba should be greatly limited. If there is no such rule, I'm afraid I'm not so easy, and it is estimated that I will be defeated soon. You are strong. Taoju Kaneko is very sincere. In my case, even if I use magic power, it will not be much stronger than normal. This is true. Taoju Kaneko originally followed the path of force and physical art, no sacred gear in hand either. Plus, Kaneko doesn't usually learn much about combat-type magic. The increase in magic power for her is the smallest. Xia Lin, you are too modest. Kiba Yuyudo said with a smile. Compared to Taoju Kaneko, it is Kiba Yuyudo. Sacred gear holder cannot use sacred gear. It directly limited his strength by more than half. If he can use the sacred gear, although Kiba Yuyudo is only a middle-class devil, his true strength is able to fight a high-class devil head-on. If the restriction of not being able to use magic power is lifted, unless Xia Lin opens the magic eye, otherwise, Kiba Yuyudo's hands will not necessarily be cheap. Riaz, Hajime Aquino and others were still touting and discussing what they had just said, and then started their own training. Xia Lin stepped aside and started to rest, focusing on the system prompt. Ding, side quest, the swordsmanship competition has been completed and the rewards are being distributed, please check. Ding, side quest, the physical skills competition has been completed and the rewards are being distributed, please check. Congratulations, your basic swordsmanship proficiency has been improved to obtain intermediate swordsmanship proficiency. Congratulations, your basic physique proficiency has been improved and you have gained intermediate physique proficiency. Congratulations, your sword drawing skills have been improved and you have obtained the secret sword, Rachel. Congratulations, you got a random skill card, please check it. A series of voices made Xia Lin feel very pleasant and comfortable. In particular, the improvement of swordsmanship and taijutsu made Xia Lin feel a warm current flowing in her body, and she could feel that her body was more flexible. The improvement of the two basic skills allowed Xia Lin's strength to grow again. This time, if I compete with Kiba and Kaneko again, I should be able to suppress them. Xia Lin estimated in his heart that the wooden sword in his hand had not been put down. In addition to the improvement of the system, he had learned a lot in the battle just now, which enhanced his actual combat ability. Xia Lin was convinced that at this moment she was much stronger than before and she could completely suppress Kiba and Kaneko. However, Rachel. Hearing this familiar name, Xia Lin raised her eyebrows, then clicked on the skill bar to check. Skill, Secret Sword Rachel Grade D effect. At the moment when the sword is drawn, a blow that is comparable to the thunder light is slashed. Source, Fallen Knight Hero Tan. The Fallen Knight, Xia Lin was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect it to be this skill. He just heard about Rachel and thought it was Kakashi's specialty. That female master. Xia Lin pondered for a while and soon remembered who this skill came from. After all, the best part of this anime was this battle. Regarding the last battle of the Fallen Knight, Xia Lin still has a deep memory. This battle is a decisive battle, and it is also a battle with the Fallen Knight male master, and the female master uses this trick. Although he lost in the end, Rachel's power is definitely not small. After all, before the male protagonist broke out with a sword, The female master occupied the throne of the school's strongest king by virtue of this strongest sword. The appearance of the secret sword, Rachel's skill, has undoubtedly raised Xia Lin's lethality in battle to a new level. If it wasn't for the fact that he had just gone through a battle and exhausted his stamina, he really wanted to try Rachel's power with Kiba Yuyudo. There is also a random skill card. Use it. Xia Lin directly chose to use random skill cards. Do you use random skill cards? Yes. Consume a random skill card to get a skill card Shunpo. Shunbu? Xia Lin felt a little familiar with the name and then opened the introduction of the skill card. Item skill card Shunpo grade D. Effect able to move quickly within a short distance to achieve the effect of almost teleportation. Source: Grim Reaper Shunpo comes from the anime Grim Reaper, and it is a necessary skill for Grim Reaper. Most Grim Reaper will. Actually, I'd rather ring it. Xia Lin is very satisfied with the skill of Shunpo. Shunbu is also a very practical skill in actual combat. If used well, it can achieve unexpected effects and catch the enemy by surprise. However, Xia Lin wanted another skill more in his heart ringing. Both can achieve a near teleport-like effect, and they are all melee-specific movement skills. However, Shunpo is only a taijutsu skill, while ringing is a space skill. To put it simply, the sound transfer is higher, and it can even avoid detection within a certain range, and the effect of the application is also stronger. Once again strengthened, Xia Lin opened her own panel, wanting to see how the system rated her. Host: Xia Lin Race Human. Rating: Samsung Strength Assessment. The comprehensive strength of this world can reach the level of intermediate gods and demons abilities. Intermediate Taijutsu D, Intermediate Swordsmanship D, Intuition D, Demon Eye of Immediate Death C, Secret Sword Rachel D, Annihilation IB, Shunpo D. Equipment: Longinus Red Dragon Emperor's Cage Hand B+, Refined Katana F or Samsung. Xia Lin frowned and jokingly said in her heart, "System, it's too strict." Without using the Eye of Annihilation and the Cage Hand of the Red Dragon Emperor, Xia Lin estimated that he should be able to compete with the high-class Devil now. However, the evaluation of the system is still Samsung. Xia Lin shook his head. He had long understood the rules and strictness of systematic evaluation, and he just wanted to see if it could be improved. The result, as expected, is still Samsung. However, it doesn't matter. Evaluation is just evaluation, and the improvement of strength is the focus. Ahahaha. Xia Lin's thoughts were withdrawn from the system, and arrogant and excited laughter suddenly came from her ears, accompanied by the roar of magic collision. Hajime Aquino and Rias spread their devil wings and flew into the sky, unscrupulously releasing magic and attacking each other. Hajime Aquino laughed wildly. His whole body was covered with thunder light, golden lightning flashed and jumped, and one after another magic circles appeared in the air, and bolts of lightning shot out from the magic circles, and they continued to fall with terrifying destructive power. The target of the lightning strike was Rias. Opposite Hajime Aquino, Rias was not to be outdone, her bright red hair fluttering in the wind like a princess returning from a bloodbath. And Rias' body is covered with red light, which is the magic power that belongs to Gremory, the magic power of destruction. As its name suggests, it carries a special power that destroys everything. Facing Hajime Aquino's wild attack, Rias did not panic at all and responded calmly with a confident smile. One after another, a torrent of red magic power rose into the sky, swallowing up the terrifying thunder light. Its terrifying minister and Aquino-senpai. Taoju Kaneko had long since hid to the side to prevent the two of them from being affected by the battle. If he was accidentally wiped by a lightning bolt or destructive magic, there would be nothing to say. Still so reckless, these two. Kiba Yuyudo also hid aside and smiled helplessly. Obviously, this situation is not surprising. Xia Lin looked at the space illuminated by thunder and red magic and felt a heartbeat. These two women are so crazy, they don't care about their surroundings at all, they don't make any effort, and they seem to have the idea of killing each other. If you don't know the two of them and know their relationship, just watching this battle will give you the illusion that these two are actually mortal enemies. However, Xia Lin was also surprised by the destructive power of the two. No wonder in many games magicians are more popular than warriors. Just looking at this gorgeous scene, you can understand a thing or two. Moreover, the terrifying thunder light and the red destructive magic power, needless to say, lethality. Xia Lin knew that if she took it head-on, she might suffer a big loss. Lightning and red magic continued to emerge, and explosions were heard, accompanied by the wild laughter of Hajime Aquino. The battle lasted for almost 10 minutes and finally ended. It was a good vent, Rias. Hajime Aquino folded her wings and fell from the sky with an unusual flush on her face, an expression of "I'm cool already." Yeah, Aquino, it's been a long time since I was so happy. Ria's also retracted her wings and landed on the ground, her face flushed and her breathing slightly disordered. The battle with Haimjima Aquino just now was also quite exhausting. She lightly straightened her long hair that had been messed up because of the battle, smiling confidently and calmly. Xia Lin glanced at the two of them speechlessly. It was just a fight. What happened to this climax expression? As for the battlefield, horrible. The training ground, which was originally flat, was now full of potholes and charred black holes, and the ground was cracked in several places. Even the woods not far away have a small area vacated. And these are all masterpieces by Rias and Haimjima Aquino. Even though the magic power attacks of the two cancelled each other out a lot, the magic power that sputtered out still destroyed the venue in a mess. Fortunately, it is in the uninhabited mountainous area. If it was in the city, the consequences would be unimaginable. Mr. Xia Lin, what do you think? Magic is very useful. Haimjima Aquino walked over to Xia Lin's side, her mouth breathed lightly and said with a smile. It's gorgeous and powerful. Xia Lin nodded and said truthfully. So why don't you give it a try? Haimjima Aquino glanced at Xia Lin. Hearing this, Xia Lin rolled her eyes. She really didn't miss any chance to persuade him. Aquino explained basic magic to Xia Lin. Ria said aloud. In fact, she and Haimjima Aquino played so gorgeously just now. In addition to training, she also wanted to attract Xia Lin. Haste is not enough, and slowly melting Xia Lin's heart is the right step. Haimjima Aquino and Xia Lin stepped aside and gave Xia Lin some little knowledge about magic. Under normal circumstances, there is no special situation like the magic family with a long history. Even if the clansman awakens the magic power that can be used is only the magic power of the four basic attributes of earth, wind, water, and fire. Of course, also there may be variants of these four attributes of magic, such as ice attributes. Xia Lin listened attentively and also felt a sense of enlightenment. So, under normal circumstances, the magic that humans can use is relatively limited. And to use the magic in the body, it is necessary to concentrate on the consciousness, feel the fluctuation of the magic in the body, and gather it together like flowing water. Saying that, a light appeared in Haimjima Aquino's hand. It's like this. Of course, this is magic power that belongs to the category of ordinary magicians, and Devil's magic power is more flexible and changeable, and it can do many things that ordinary magicians can't do. For example, the teleportation circle you want to learn, Mr. Xia Lin is definitely not as convenient and quick to use by human magicians as Devil, not as good as Devil's effect. Moreover, most humans can only use magic of a single attribute. Magicians with dual attributes are very rare among humans, and even fewer have three or more. Haimjima Aquino shook her palm with a smile. The magic power in her hand instantly turned into a ball of ice. The next moment turned into a ball of fire, then turned into a stone, and finally turned into a breeze. However, Devil's magic can change its attributes at will. Next, Haimjima Aquino began to explain the details of the teleportation array. In fact, the teleportation array is not as convenient as Xia Lin imagined, and it cannot achieve the effect of teleportation at will like Ring Zhuan. When using the teleportation array, it is necessary to describe the magic circle in advance and determine the teleportation location in advance, and then it can achieve the effect of easily teleporting anywhere. Simply put, the teleportation array is a bit like two stations that omit the transportation. Stations need to be built, no vehicles are required to run. After half an hour, Haimjima Aquino finally explained the basic knowledge of magic and the knowledge of teleportation to Xia Lin. Xia Lin, you can't use magic until you don't have magic power, but the knowledge I explained earlier can be used as a reserve. When you have magic power in the future, you should be able to master it quickly. Haimjima Aquino said with great regret. Magic. Xia Lin chuckled lightly, then closed her eyes and then opened them suddenly. Can this kind of thing be considered magic power? Although it is different from the magic power in your hands. Xia Lin opened the demon eye of death, the ice blue eyes made people palpitate, and a mass of white light condensed in his hand. This is. Seeing the light in Xia Lin's hands, Haimjima Aquino was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. How can you have magic power? Impossible. Haimjima Aquino said in disbelief, just have it. Xia Lin shrugged and said indifferently, as if he had said something like eating and drinking, and then gently waved his hand to dissipate the magic ball. Ria's, something is bad. Come here quickly. Haimjima Aquino's eyes widened, and she shouted at Ria's with an uncharacteristic demeanor. What's the matter? Aquino, make a fuss, this doesn't look like you. Ria's frowned and walked over from not far away, looking at Haimjima Aquino strangely. It's not that I want to make a fuss, it's that Xia Lin is too surprising. Haimjima Aquino said very bitterly. Hajime Akino's loud shouting not only called Ria's over, but also Taoju Kaneko and Kiba Yuyudo stopped training and came over curiously to see what happened. What happened to Xia Lin? Huh, this is your magic eye, I saw it again, it's really beautiful. Rias discovered the state of Xia Lin, and he opened the ice blue magic eye like two delicate sapphires, full of dreamy and beautiful colors, just like the one she saw that night. It's not the magic eye, it's... Hajime Akino began to explain in a bit of a panic. Akino meant to say that. Xia Lin once again condensed a ball of magic on her right hand. This is... No matter how good Ria's cultivation is, she still has an indescribable urge at this moment. Like Hajime Akino, she also widened her eyes and looked unbelievable. Magic. On the contrary, Taoju Kaneko looked the most calm, with golden pupils staring blankly at the magic ball in Xia Lin's hands. Although it is not as pure and slightly different from our magic power, there is no doubt that this is magic power. Kiba Yuyudo also took a careful look at the magic ball on Xia Lin's right hand, and then said with certainty, "Impossible, Xia Lin, you are obviously human." Rias was shocked, but the fact was in front of her, and she couldn't bear to not believe it. "It's very strange, Xia Lin, you are obviously not a devil, and there is no trace of a contract with devil on your body." Taoju Kaneko approached Xia Lin, observed it carefully, and even sniffed it. "Mr. Xia Lin, are you actually a descendant of a magician family?" Hajime Akino expressed the doubts in his heart. Rias also came up with this idea. Could it be that the intelligence system of the underworld did not find out about Xia Lin? Otherwise, how could Xia Lin have magic power? "I really want to strangle those guys who collect information, but such important information has not been found. No, I'm pretty sure my ancestors were just ordinary people." Xia Lin said calmly, then he pointed to his eyes, "It should be the credit. Of course, it's just random nonsense. Magic is given by the system. Definitely can't say that. Throwing the pot to the magic eye is a good choice." "Your magic eye?" Rias looked suspiciously at those sapphire eyes, and being stared at by them, she felt an indescribable heart palpitation. In the past, there were not many characters who awakened the demon eye. Although the magic eye will show some strange abilities, similar to the effects of magic, but it can only be done by consuming the strength of the magic eye host. However, now Xia Lin's magic eye has the effect of imparting magic power to the host. This situation is not impossible. "Mr. Xia Lin, what effect does your magic eye have?" Hajime Akino is good to go and can't wait to ask the exit. "Sorry, I made a mistake." As soon as the voice fell, Hajime Akino immediately apologized. She also knew that her question was too much. After all, the magic eye is a treasure of others, so how could the information about the magic eye be leaked at will? Not to mention, at this moment, Xia Lin hadn't completely let go of her guard against them. "Why are you apologizing?" Xia Lin asked strangely. "Because this is Xia Lin's secret after all." Hajime Akino said apologetically, "It's nothing. If I tell you, there should be no problem. You deserve my trust." Xia Lin smiled and shook her head. The characters of several people are still worthy of trust. Of course, Xia Lin wouldn't have rashly said such words if he hadn't had a plot profit. "What's more, I will get along with everyone for a long time in the future, and the function of the magic eye will definitely not be concealed." "Ah, Xia Lin-kun, this sentence has a high score for me." Hajime Akino's eyes lit up and she smiled. Rias also showed a satisfied smile, and being able to gain Xia Lin's trust meant that her efforts during this period were not in vain. The corners of Taoju Kaneko's mouth twitched slightly, obviously satisfied with Xia Lin's words. Kiba Yuyudo is still wearing an elegant smile. "The first function, auxiliary combat, Kiba. You think my style that night was very different from today's style. But it's actually because of the difference in whether I use the magic eye." Xia Lin explained, "If I use the magic eye, the lethality of my swordsmanship will increase a lot. Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. It's precisely because I didn't use the magic eye that my swordsmanship was a little gentler in the competition with you just now." Xia Lin explained. "No wonder." Kiba Yuyudo nodded knowingly. "Xia Lin, if you used your magic eye to fight me just now, I might be defeated by you soon." When Xia Lin was fighting the Lost Devil, if the fierce style was used in the match just now, Kiba Yuyudo felt that he might be at a greater disadvantage. It's just a competition between swordsmanship. If you use the sacred gear, there's no way to tell who wins and who loses. Xia Lin shook her head. After completing the task, both swordsmanship and taijutsu have been improved respectively, and Xia Lin naturally has the confidence to surpass Kiba Yuyudo. But before completing the task, Xia Lin may not be 100% sure that he is better than Kiba Yuyudo, who uses the magic sword creation when he simply uses the magic eye of death. Of course, that's just one of those functions. Xia Lin decided to tell the Annihilation Eye together so as not to have to explain it later. Xia Lin closed her eyes and opened them again. The ice blue magic eyes were replaced by red cross characters. Any other functions? Haimjima Aquino's eyes widened. Under normal circumstances, the ability of the magic eye is relatively simple, but now Xia Lin's magic eye has a second function. Right, Xia Lin nodded. The second function, absorbing and transforming magic power. Compared with the pure-colored demon eye with no impurities, the Eye of Annihilation is obviously more mysterious and unpredictable. The cross symbol composed of runes made Devil present feel a chill. After all, Devil hates crosses, especially crosses of this particular rune. Xia Lin pointed to his eyes. This function can completely cancel the magic attack to a certain extent, but I have not tried it at any level. It is this function that awakens your magic power. Riaz asked curiously. That's it. Xia Lin was non-committal and answered vaguely. He did not explain that the Death Eye and the Annihilation Eye were two different magical eyes, but explained that they were just two different functions of the Demon Eye. The functions of the two magic eyes were only given a rough outline and were not explained in detail. Otherwise, I am afraid that Riaz and others will be even more shocked, because there are two kinds of magic eyes awakened in one person, which is too incredible. If you can awaken a kind of magic eye, you can already be called the favored son of heaven, awakening both at the same time. Although the world is full of wonders, the sudden appearance of a new case is really shocking. However, Xia Lin's explanation that a magic eye has two different abilities is equally surprising. The magic eye with two functions, the rarity has far surpassed the general sacred gear, and can even go directly to Longinus. Xia Lin, if you have magic power, it shouldn't be a problem to use magic. Ria said this with a wry smile. Even the face that has always been confident is also covered with a depressing color. Well, but my magic power is somewhat different from yours. I don't know if I can use magic smoothly. Xia Lin thought for a while and said, if that's the case, you can leave it to Aquino. Before reincarnating as a devil, Aquino was a shrine maiden, and she has a certain degree of research on magic and on Myoji. In fact, Aquino is the strongest among us. One of, Riaz said with some frustration. She was a little unwilling in her heart. The steps that had already been formulated were completely disrupted. Is this guy his own nemesis? Now that Xia Lin has awakened her magic power, does she still need to be reincarnated as a devil? The answer is negative. Riaz knew that the fact that the reincarnated devil could possess magic power was no longer attractive to Xia Lin. So what else could attract Xia Lin? The identity of his own heir to the Grand Duke of Devil is useless. Beautiful. Although he has confessed, it seems that the other party does not seem to be uncommon in the past few days of contact. Increase strength. Also no, Xia Lin doesn't seem to like to use reincarnated devil's way to improve his strength. For the first time, Riaz felt powerless. Riaz knew that her hope of persuading Xia Lin to become her retinue was getting slimmer. Of course, Riaz will not be angry with Xia Lin but will help Xia Lin to master magic. This is her personality. It's not a big problem, just make some modifications to the construction of the spell, but I don't know much magic. Except for the lightning magic that I am best at, I only have some basic magic. Haimjima Aquino nodded and explained, and the lightning magic, Xia Lin, you should not be able to use it. This is a kind of magic unique to me. So what I can teach you, apart from the teleportation array, is only some very ordinary magic. Lightning magic, it belongs to light attribute magic. It is the power inherited from the fallen angel bloodline in her body. Like Ria's destruction magic, it is a special bloodline power that cannot be taught. Lightning magic, Xia Lin's heart moved. She didn't know whether her newly mastered secret sword Lakey was considered a thunder attribute. If I remember correctly, the secret sword Rachel is not just a sword drawing skill but a cutting sword skill to be precise. The cutting skill is a unique name in the world of fallen knights. When using it, it will also waste magic power. And the secret sword Lakey is a kind of sword-cutting skill with the thunder attribute. When Lakey cuts out, there will be thunder dancing. That's enough. Xia Lin thanked with a smile. For magic, he pays more attention to practicality, although the more the better, Mr. Xia Lin, I have told you the essentials of the teleportation array just now. Do you want to try it? Haimjima Aquino suggested. It is good. Xia Lin also wanted to try it out. Well, however, the construction of some magic textures needs to be transformed. Haimjima Aquino thought for a while and said, she is a reincarnated devil and she usually uses devil's spells for teleportation. Now, as a human, Xia Lin's magic power is different from devil's magic power, so she naturally needs to make certain modifications to use it. Here, Here and here change the magic pattern to this, and the direction of the flow of magic power also needs to be modified. Hajime Aquino crouched down, drew a magic pattern on the ground, and then erased and modified it. After repeating it a few times, the new magic circle was finally modified. Okay, Mr. Xia Lin, this is the new magic circle. You can try it according to this new magic circle. Hajime Aquino tapped her lips with her fingers. If you're just starting out, let's set the destination at a distance of 100 meters. Okay. Xia Lin nodded and followed the method given to him by Hajime Aquino, mobilizing the magic power in her body, and began to describe the teleportation array. The light of magic power flickered indefinitely. Under Xia Lin's feet, silver-colored array lines appeared one by one, and then formed a circular magic circle. When the circular magic circle was completely formed, Xia Lin's figure suddenly disappeared from the magic circle. The next moment, a silver-colored magic circle appeared 100 meters away, which was the destination set by Xia Lin. After the magic circle appeared, Xia Lin's figure also appeared again. After using it successfully, Xia Lin immediately teleported back. It turned out to be successful the first time. Seeing this scene, Hajime Aquino opened her mouth slightly and said incredulously, "Thank you for reading this story at Fiction Zone. Net, your support enables us to keep the site running. It's not difficult." Xia Lin replied with a smile, "It shouldn't take much effort, right?" Hearing this, Hajime Aquino gave Xia Lin a strange look with an inexplicable look in her eyes. Teleportation array, as a magic of the bad street, theoretically speaking, the difficulty is really low. However, Xia Lin is only a beginner who has just been exposed to magic knowledge for a short time. In this case, the teleportation array was successfully used for the first time. Indeed, it is a thing that is quite impressive. When I was learning the teleportation array, it took me half a month to learn it. Taoju Kaneko spoke from the side. "My words, it took about a week." Kiba Yuyudo also replied. Neither of them followed the path of a magician. They were all warriors, and their talent in magic was not high, so it took more time to learn low-level magic, which is not difficult to explain. Xia Lin looked at Hajime Aquino. "My words, it took a whole day." Hajime Aquino stretched out a finger, shook it, and replied with a smile. "I should have a good sensei." Xia Lin looked at Hajime Aquino and said, "I have to admit that Xia Lin was able to learn the teleportation array so quickly, thanks to Hajime Aquino." In the explanation of magic knowledge, Hajime Aquino really made it easy to understand, so that Xia Lin could understand it quickly without any mistakes. "Ara ara, Mr. Xia Lin, really." Hajime Aquino cupped her cheeks with both hands, making a shy look with a happy smile on her face. "Aquino's talent in magic is very powerful. Even my brother has praised her. I just didn't expect your talent to be so good, Xia Lin." Ria's looked complicated. "This guy is really too good. The swordsmanship talent is only stronger than that of Kiba Yuyudo. In terms of physical skills, it can compete with the castle of Taoju Kaneko. Now, even the talent for magic is stronger than Hajime Aquino. Moreover, there is still no talent that has been strengthened by devil chess pieces." Rias could imagine that as long as Xia Lin did not die prematurely, his achievements would never be lower. Even, it is possible to occupy a place in the throne of the future world powerhouse. Even now, Xia Lin has the qualifications comparable to the high-class devil, surpassing the vast majority of mediocrity. However, the more this happened, the more unwilling Rias became. Why can't such a good boy be her person? No, Rias, you must not give up. You are the future heir of Grand Duke Gremory. How could you give up easily because of this difficulty? Xia Lin is definitely a test for you. Absolutely cannot be beaten. Be sure to cross this peak. Thinking like this, the light in Ria's eyes grew brighter and brighter. The battered Rias not only did not flinch because of this, but instead became more and more brave, and her dedication to Xia Lin deepened several times. Xia Lin looked at Rias strangely. Of course, he didn't know how much inner activity Rias had experienced in a short period of time, but he could still feel the change in the atmosphere of Rias. From the previous self-confidence, he suddenly became lost, and now he has become high-spirited. It doesn't seem like anything special happened, does it? Xia Lin shook her head secretly in her heart. She didn't understand how the girl's mood was the same as it was in June. Of course, he just thought it was strange, not his business. His priority now is to learn some basic magic. I'll use the teleportation array again to see if there is any problem with long-distance teleportation. Xia Lin said, although he has learned the teleportation array, it is only a preliminary learning. The teleportation distance just now was only 100 meters. Compared with the teleportation array used by Rias and the others, it is not worth mentioning. Well, how about setting up Q Academy this time? There is a point there, so even if something goes wrong, there will be no danger. Haimjima Aquino said, although the teleportation array is only a low-level magic, it is also a space magic, and naturally there is a certain danger. For example, a transmission error. Another example when teleporting encounters things like spatial turbulence. Of course, the second point can be ignored. After all, the teleportation array has undergone various improvements and optimizations before it became such a bad street. And the bad street means that its security is actually very high. Otherwise, almost 90% of the things in the world of gods and demons can't kill a lot of people every day. It is good. Xia Lin nodded in agreement. After that, Xia Lin completely mastered the teleportation array and was able to achieve precise teleportation over long distances. However, the transmission distance of the teleportation array is closely related to the user himself. The consumption of magic power and the depiction of the magic array are inseparable from the accuracy and distance of the teleportation array. However, so far, Xia Lin's range of activities is only within Qwang Town, so the magic power is sufficient. After mastering the teleportation array, Xia Lin and Haimjima Aquino learned a few basic magics. Amnestic magic, simple fire magic, etc. It's already this time. Everyone, let's be here today. Unconsciously, the sky had gradually turned dark, and Riaz clapped her hands to remind everyone to stop and rest. When everyone heard the words, they stopped what they were doing and walked into the mansion to rest. If you want dinner, leave it to me. With a chuckle, Haimjima Aquino walked into the kitchen with familiarity and started making dinner. Play with. Sitting in the living room to rest before dinner came, Taoju Kaneko suddenly took out 2 game consoles and handed one of them to Xia Lin. Still the same style. Not much to say, but Taoju Kaneko's attitude showed that he had accepted Xia Lin. It is good. Xia Lin did not refuse, took over the game console and played the game online with Taoju Kaneko. It's dinner. More than 10 minutes later, a burst of aroma came from the kitchen which stimulated the appetite, and the voice of Haimjima Aquino also rang out. After eating, everyone chatted in the living room for a while and then went back to their rooms to rest. After nearly 2 hours of practice, everyone felt a little tired, so they quickly fell asleep. Xia Lin was no exception. After getting on the bed, she quickly fell asleep. In the middle of the night, Xia Lin woke up with the urge to urinate, got up and went to the toilet. Okay. On the way back to the room, Xia Lin noticed something unusual outside the room. He walked to the window and looked into the distance. That's the direction of the training ground. In the dark night, the red light flickered indefinitely, which seemed a little strange, and Xia Lin was also very familiar with the scent of the red light. It's so late, what is Riaz doing outside? It's so late, what is Riaz doing outside? His eyes were fixed on the red light in the night. It was the light produced by the magic power of destruction, and it was Riaz's special magic power. Xia Lin is very strange. In the middle of the night, Riaz didn't sleep in the room. What was she doing on the training ground? Go and see. The sleepiness was swept away. Xia Lin decided to go see what was going on. He jumped down from the window and then headed straight towards the training ground. After a while, Xia Lin arrived at the edge of the training ground. In the dark night, the red light in the center of the training ground was too conspicuous. A girl with bright red long hair, standing in the center of the training ground, wrapped in red magic power around her, her long hair fluttering without wind. In her hands, a torrent of destruction magic followed her manipulation, surging like a rushing water. Riaz was engrossed and carefully manipulated the mass of destruction magic, trying to make the destruction magic docile. However, the process seems to be somewhat difficult. The magic power was like a flood, it was turbulent, and it was difficult to calm down. Even if Riaz tried her best, she was only able to grasp it and not let it leak out. There was a little sweat on Riaz's nose and forehead, and her pretty face was blushing. Suddenly the sound of stones being stepped on resounded in the quiet night sky. Who? Riaz asked abruptly, and the destructive magic power she was controlling also collapsed. Riaz turned around abruptly, looking in the direction from which the voice came. In the dark night, a teenager in pajamas was standing on the edge of the training ground, looking at her with a smile. Xia Lin, why are you here? Seeing the person coming, Riaz felt relieved, looked at Xia Lin strangely and asked, I should ask you this, what are you doing at the training ground if you don't sleep in the middle of the night? Xia Lin moved closer and said jokingly, It's just that I can't sleep at night and I have some cultivation experience. I don't want to waste time, just give it a try. Riaz laughed dryly and explained, It's about the same for me. After I woke up in the middle of the night, I couldn't sleep. I happened to see a red light here, so I came to have a look. Xia Lin shrugged and replied unexpectedly, I didn't expect you to be here. It's just I didn't expect you to be so diligent, Riaz, thinking about using your time to cultivate in the middle of the night. Xia Lin said with some playfulness. Anyway, idle is idle. The panic in Ria's eyes flashed, and there was still an elegant smile on her face. Yes, Xia Lin smiled irrefutably, staring at Ria's face carefully. But why do I see you as if you have something on your mind? Although Ria's came to exercise her magic power, her cheeks were also rosy after the exercise, but there was an indelible trace of sadness between her brows. Xia Lin saw it at a glance. Hearing this, Ria's was stunned and smirked. Is it that obvious? It's all written on my face. If I can't see it, my eyes can be donated. Xia Lin said jokingly. Sorry for worrying you. Ria said apologetically. You're my friend, there's no need to apologize for this kind of thing. Xia Lin shook her head and then said, however, if you don't mind, you might as well speak your mind and listen to it. Maybe there is a solution. A friend? Ria's was stunned and murmured, thanks. Ria suddenly bowed sincerely to Xia Lin. It was so serious all of a sudden that I was overwhelmed. Xia Lin said teasingly, I'm really happy that Xia Lin can treat me as a friend. The corners of Ria's mouth raised a happy arc, obviously in a good mood. It's just not a big deal, I don't want to trouble you. Forget it, since you don't want to say anything, I won't force you, but remember that you are my friend. If you need it, you can speak directly and don't hide it. As long as I can help you, I will do it, will definitely help. Xia Lin waved her hand, then looked at Ria's seriously and said seriously. After speaking, Xia Lin looked away. Whether it's because of her love for the heroine or because of Ria's unreserved help to him these days, Xia Lin has no reason to let Ria's go. Hearing this, Ria's calm heart swayed with ripples. She looked at Xia Lin, the young man in front of her. Before tonight, she only admired him. But for some reason, looking at Xia Lin at this moment, Ria's felt a throbbing in her heart that she had never felt before. She didn't know what the throbbing was about. All I know is that she doesn't hate this feeling. Even I want to keep this throbbing feeling. I know if it is really necessary, I will not hesitate to speak. Ria's calmed down and said lightly, even the worry between her brows dissipated a lot. That's good, I'm afraid you are too proud and hide your thoughts in your heart. Xia Lin waved her hand. Ria's is a proud person. Xia Lin can feel it both from the original book and from the 2 days of getting along. And proud people naturally cannot open their mouths for help easily. Will not. Ria's voice was gentle and she shook her head. Well, that's fine, since I'm fine, I'll go back. Don't practice too late or you'll have no energy tomorrow. Got it. Ria's glared at Xia Lin, a little coquettish, and the relationship between the two had become much closer without knowing it. Seeing the back of Xia Lin leaving, Ria's unconsciously revealed a happy smile. When Xia Lin's figure completely disappeared in the dark night, Ria's took her eyes back, she shook her head, she had a feeling of reluctance just now, an urge to let Xia Lin stay with her for training. Ria's laughed, throwing this strange thought out of her mind. Then he devoted himself to the manipulation of the destruction magic. Destruction magic is powerful, but it is too violent to use. Now I can't do the fine manipulation of magic like Aquino. Ria's is very aware of her strengths and weaknesses. Every time I use the destruction magic to attack, a large part of the magic is wasted, and only a small part of the magic plays its due role. If before that, the manipulation of the magic of destruction can be raised to a higher level maybe. Ria's gritted her teeth with a determined look on her face. Ria's rarely practiced in the middle of the night. Not to mention wasting her energy, her efficiency was also very low. However, today was suddenly stimulated. And the reason for this excitement, of course, was that Xia Lin's sudden magical power and the magical talent she showed made Ria's persuasion plan go to waste. Of course, this is just an incentive. The main reason was the engagement that bound Ria's. This engagement was like a mountain pressing down on Ria's, making her breathless. Ria's never wanted to get rid of this engagement, but the hope is too slim. However, Ria's never gave up. Therefore, she desperately wants to improve her strength. 2 days passed quickly. In addition to learning magic with Hajime Aquino, Xia Lin occasionally conducts duels with Taoju Kaneko and Kiba Yuyudo. He has gained a lot in the past 2 days. In addition to the 2 side quest rewards given by the system, he has also mastered a lot of basic magic, and his combat skills have also been greatly improved. And Ria seems to have returned to her original form, except for a little anomaly on Friday night. It's Sunday afternoon. Xia Lin's growth is really terrifying. Looking at Xia Lin, Taoju Kaneko, and Kiba Yuyudo who were training for combat in the training ground, Hajime Aquino couldn't help but speak. I've already seen it and now I won't be surprised if he does something. Ria's had an expression that had long since looked down. In fact, Xia Lin has caused her too many surprises and frights these days, making her feel numb. However, Ria's was already bearish on the surface, but she was still a little shocked in her heart. When they first came here on Friday, Taoju Kaneko and Kiba Yuyudo teamed up and were able to suppress Xia Lin. However, after 2 days, the two of them could no longer suppress him, and instead were at a disadvantage everywhere. Even Xia Lin is not training against Taoju Kaneko and Kiba Yuyudo at the moment, but is sparring with the two. The combination of the two can no longer cause any pressure on Xia Lin. Of course, this is also without the use of magic and sacred gear on both sides. For ordinary people, if they can gain a little bit of growth in 2 days, it is a good talent, but Xia Lin is a qualitative leap. Ria's Xia Lin must not let go. Haimjima Aquino smiled and said half-jokingly, I know. Ria's had a firm color on her face. The worries of Friday night had long since been swept away and she was still the confident Ria's. In the center of the training ground, the battle of the three has come to an end. Taoju Kaneko and Kiba Yuyudo, one left and one right, launched a combined attack on Xia Lin, while Xia Lin was calm in the face of danger, and in the face of the combined attack of the two, he dismissed it lightly. Boom. Xia Lin picked up the wooden sword that stabbed at him, leaned back, dodged Kaneko's punch to his chin and escaped from the surrounding area of the two. Then he slid forward sharply, and under Kiba Yuyuto's surprised gaze, he put the wooden sword on his neck. One exit. Xia Lin took away the wooden sword with a smile and turned to look at Taoju Kaneko. Kiba Yuyudo smiled helplessly, then lowered his hands holding the sword, simply conceded defeat and automatically stepped aside. Kaneko, for the two of us, we don't know when we will be able to decide the outcome, so let's just punch each other. Xia Lin suggested. Compared with the crispy swordsman like Kiba Yuyudo, Taoju Kaneko is the most difficult one. In analogy, Taoju Kaneko is a tank with damage and displacement in the game, while Xia Lin is a fighter with meat, damage, and speed. If the two want to decide the winner, they can only slowly time-consuming, entangled time is too long. It is good. Taoju Kaneko nodded, agreeing with Xia Lin's proposal. Kaneko clenched his fist, slammed his feet with force, and then threw a straight fist at Xia Lin. Too straight. Xia Lin couldn't help laughing. He also gave up the wooden sword and punched forward, but when he was about to collide, his body flashed suddenly, avoiding Kaneko's fist, and then turning the fist into a palm, and Kaneko was too late to retract it. The arm gently pulled forward. Kaneko's personality is too straightforward, and naively thought that Xia Lin would fight her, so he didn't hold back at all. Under Xia Lin's strength, Kaneko's body suddenly became unstable and fell forward, almost falling into an indecent position. You are fooling. After falling a few meters forward and standing firm, Kaneko turned around and stared at Xia Lin expressionlessly, his eyes a little scary. Soldiers never tire of deceit, Xia Lin said with a smile. From Kaneko's point of view, Xia Lin smiled too proudly and was very rude, but Xia Lin's words were not wrong. Come again. Kaneko said unconvinced. Never mind. Xia Lin shook her head and did not agree. Kaneko, as the Cat Demon clan, is also a castle chess piece, and his physical strength is even higher than that of Xia Lin. Even after various enhancements, Xia Lin still does not want to confront Kaneko head-on, unless Xia Lin wanted her arm to hurt all day. Hearing this, Taoju Kaneko was in all kinds of unhappiness, and his golden pupils stared at Xia Lin, making Xia Lin feel a little embarrassed, and regretted teasing Kaneko just now on a whim. Xia Lin, I have an unkind request. When the fight was over, Kiba Yuyudo stepped forward and pleaded. Looking at Kiba Yuyudo's eyes flashing with fighting intent, Xia Lin probably guessed what he wanted to say. You want to fight without rules? Xia Lin asked with a smile. Okay, Kiba Yuyudo was surprised. He didn't expect that he didn't say it, and the other party already knew it. It is good. Xia Lin nodded. He also had the same thought. I just learned a new sword move in the past 2 days. Xia Lin also wanted to use Kiba Yuyudo to try out the power of the secret sword Rachel. But he had spent most of his energy on learning basic magic in the past 2 days, so he was delayed. At this moment, the training was about to end, and since Kiba Yuyudo opened his mouth, he just took him to test the sword. Senior Yuyudo, avenge me. Taoju Kaneko cheered on Kiba Yuyudo on the side. The way Xia Lin pitted her just now made her very unhappy, and she was eager to see Xia Lin's shriveled appearance. I can only say try my best. Kiba Yuyudo smiled. A flash of light suddenly flashed in his hand, and a very gorgeous-looking knight sword appeared in his hand. This is the magic sword created by Sacred Gear's magic sword creation. It looks more like a decorative sword, but its power is very good. I don't know if this ordinary sword can block the magic sword. Xia Lin thought in her heart and took out a takai from the weapon rack. Obviously, the gap between the weapons is not a little bit. Looks like it's going to be a good fight. Haimjima Aquino and Riaz also looked at them expectantly. Please advise. Kiba Yuyudo saluted and then suddenly drew his sword. The whole person's aura changed, much stronger than before. Okay. Xia Lin clearly felt the difference between Kiba Yuyudo's use of a wooden sword and a magic sword, and the lethality between the two was not at the same level at all. The speed and strength have both increased a lot. Sure enough, using his own sword is his true strength. Xia Lin closed her eyes, but a smile appeared on Xia Lin's mouth, holding the scabbard in his left hand and the hilt in his right hand in a gesture of drawing the knife. The battle has begun. Kiba Yuyudo jumped out from the spot, the magic sword in his hand cut through the air and attacked Xia Lin with a fierce attack. The next moment, the electric light flickered. The sound of thunder resounded throughout the training ground. Xia Lin's body was surrounded by golden lightning, especially around the weapon held in both hands, and the lightning crackled. Rachel, Xia Lin whispered in her heart, and in the thunder light the blade was unsheathed. So fast, everyone's mind couldn't help but have this idea. Kiba Yuyudo's pupils shrank, and he subconsciously raised his magic sword to resist, trying to block the blow that was comparable to lightning speed. Boom, a metallic humming sound rang out. And then ka-ka-ka-ka-ka, the sound of cracking followed closely. In the eyes of everyone, the sword in Xia Lin's hand shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. Likewise, the magic sword in Kiba Yuyudo's hand was broken. In this blow, both of their weapons were destroyed. Looks like I lost. Xia Lin stopped and spread out her hands helplessly. Who knew that Rachel's power would make the weapon unbearable? However, it was unexpected that Rachel was able to destroy the magic sword. Looks like I lost. Xia Lin spread out her hands helplessly, expressing that she would admit defeat. Kiba Yuyudo's magic sword creation, even if the magic sword used in his hand is destroyed, he can recreate a new magic sword. Moreover, the process is effortless and can be recreated at any time. Without weapons, playing close combat with a swordsman. Of course, Xia Lin's physical skills are good and he can really fight Kiba Yuyudo with his bare hands. However, this is no longer necessary. It's me who lost. If it wasn't for taking advantage of the weapon, I would have lost the blow just now. Kiba Yuyudo shook his head, not agreeing with Xia Lin's words. Kiba Yuyudo is very clear that if Xia Lin's weapon was the same magic sword as his, I am afraid that the broken sword will only be the one in his own hand, and Xia Lin's sword will directly destroy the weapon and fall on his body. In fact, Kiba Yuyudo never imagined that an ordinary sword would be able to exert such power in Xia Lin's hands, directly destroying his magic sword. Perhaps there is an element of underestimating the enemy. After all, he has just summoned the magic sword and many tricks have not been used. However, that sword skill just now, Kiba Yuyudo couldn't help but recall the Rachel that Xia Lin just performed. The power is too strong. He was able to directly cross the gap between the weapons and smash his magic sword. Except for Kiba Yuyudo, who was recalling the sword just now, there was one other person who did the same. Lei Guang's sword. Is that him? Hamjima Aquino stared at Xia Lin blankly, with a strange expression on her face, and whispered in her mouth. It would end in such a way. Riaz was looking forward to Xia Lin and Kiba Yuyudo fighting each other to show their true strength. It's a pity that I didn't expect that after only one round of fighting, the weapons of the two would be destroyed, and the battle would end in a tacit understanding. The fighting style does have the style of a swordsman. Duels between powerful swordsmen are often decided by one blow. It's a pity that it made the onlookers feel a little unfulfilled. The sword of the swordsman is also one of the important factors in determining the outcome. If it is a real battle, there is no chance for me to sigh about the unfairness of the weapon. Xia Lin explained frankly that he didn't really care about winning or losing. Okay, you two don't give in. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose, doesn't it? Hamjima Aquino walked over with a chuckle, then hugged Xia Lin's left hand with both hands, looking like she was coquettishly ingratiating. Mr. Xia Lin, we really are a good match. Do you want my girlfriend to be officially converted? You know you're a fake girlfriend too. Did you take the wrong medicine? The soft touch on the arm made Xia Lin's mind sway, and then quickly recovered, turned his eyes away and looked at Hamjima Aquino with a strange expression. I don't understand the style. Hamjima Aquino glared at Xia Lin angrily and said, at this time, shouldn't you agree? Aren't you afraid that my fragile young girl's heart will be hurt? Oh, Xia Lin looked indifferent and asked jokingly, you also have a girlish heart, you idiot. In a word, Hamjima Aquino was instantly furious. However, Xia Lin felt a little strange in her heart. Although Hamjima Aquino often speaks a yellow accent and likes to tease Xia Lin, but she never takes the initiative to make some intimate actions, and even some physical contact is avoided as much as possible. However, in this position, generally speaking, only intimate actions are performed between male and female friends. How could Hamjima Aquino suddenly change her usual way of doing intimate acts to herself? Xia Lin, when you fired your sword just now, did you carry an electric light? Kiba Uyudo asked curiously. He should have read it right, although it was only for a moment. I also saw a very bright electric light. It is very similar to Akino-senpai's thunder and lightning. Taoju Kaneko also spoke, staring at Xia Lin with a curious look in his golden pupils. Don't tell me this is the new magic you created in the past 2 days. Riaz looked at Xia Lin speechlessly. Lightning magic. This is Hajime Akino's exclusive magic. Because of the bloodline of fallen angel cadres in her body, she can use lightning magic. How could Xia Lin, an ordinary human, master this attribute? However, since Xia Lin has challenged Ria's cognition time and time again, Riaz is not very shocked at this moment, because her heart has long been numb from the shock of Xia Lin, and she is already mentally prepared. Roughly the same. Xia Lin nodded calmly without showing any arrogance, making it seem like it was just a very ordinary thing. Almost. Riaz twitched the corners of her mouth. Do you know how big this is? Riaz stroked her forehead as if I had obeyed you. Look, let's see, Xia Lin-kun and I can both use lightning-type magic, and it really is a natural match. Hajime Akino hugged Xia Lin's arm and didn't let go, and shook it like a coquettish, delicate touch and intoxicating aroma wrapped around Xia Lin. The reason. Xia Lin always thought it was impossible, but for the time being, he couldn't think of any other reason why Hajime Akino suddenly approached him uncharacteristically. Forget it, even if I explain the reason to you, you probably won't care too much. Riaz waved her hand and said weakly, being able to use lightning-type magic must be the reason for your evil eye. Riaz naturally attributed it to Xia Lin's magic eye, the magic of bloodline inheritance. Whether it's in devil or other gods, it is extremely valued. Like the destructive magic within her. And Xia Lin can actually use lightning magic similar to Hajime Akino. If this is spread out, it will definitely surprise a large number of people. Even some organizations that are about to act evil will grab Xia Lin for anatomy research, or pull him to breed to see if they can create descendants of blood inheritance. However, with your current strength, even if I want to defeat you, I'm afraid it will be difficult to do so, so don't worry too much about safety issues. This is why Riaz didn't explain too much, so she was relieved. Xia Lin is now like a treasure trove, enough to attract some ill-intentioned people to covet, embrace the guilt. Only when one's own strength reaches a certain level can one possess treasures. In Ria's view, Xia Lin's strength has reached a level sufficient to protect herself. The strength comparable to the high-class devil may not be very good in the eyes of those big men, but in the eyes of most people, it is already an insurmountable peak. What's more, Xia Lin is one of the members of the Occult Research Club, one of the members of her territory, indirectly protected by Gremory. Unless someone is not afraid of death, they will go to Q Academy to covet Xia Lin's magic eye. Looking at Xia Lin and Hajime Akino, who had dropped their hilt and were playing around, Kiba Uyudo couldn't help showing a wry smile on his face. Kiba Uyudo is not someone who can't afford to lose, but he is a very chivalrous person. He knew very well that the result of this competition was that he lost. It's just that the loss was too dramatic. I remembered not long ago, when I just met Xia Lin, I swore that I would not lose against Xia Lin. However, less than a week has passed. Lose yourself, lost in the confrontation between swordsmen. This is the field that he is most proud of, but it has been completely surpassed by the other party. Moreover, the other party did not open the magic eye. In other words, Xia Lin defeated him who used the magic sword without using all his strength. Kiba Uyudo felt a little bitter in his heart, secretly feeling that he was too arrogant. Kiba Uyudo was also a little unwilling, but with a good temperament he quickly turned this unwillingness and bitterness into motivation, and the loss and bitter smile on his face were swept away. Xia Lin, please give me more advice in the future. Kiba Uyudo bowed to Xia Lin. Why are you so solemn all of a sudden? Xia Lin, who was still enjoying the entanglement of Hajime Akino, was taken aback by Kiba Uyudo's serious attitude. Well, after all, it may trouble you from time to time. Kiba Uyudo gave an embarrassed smile. Seeing Kiba Uyudo's shy smile, Xia Lin couldn't help but feel a chill. Oh shit. This guy can't be gay. Xia Lin secretly planned to stay away from this guy in the future. If Kiba Uyudo knew what Xia Lin was thinking, she would definitely cry. He simply wanted to ask Xia Lin to practice with him to improve his swordsmanship, and hoped that the other party could give him 2 pointers. And this kind of thing will definitely bring some trouble to Xia Lin, so Kiba Uyudo will feel a little embarrassed. What I didn't expect was that the twisted look of Kiba Uyudo was directly misinterpreted by Xia Lin. Xia Lin, you shouldn't have any weapons in your hands. Riaz thought about it and asked, just some ordinary swords. Xia Lin is also helpless, he also wants a good weapon. However, the things sold in the system mall are too expensive and the points in hand can't buy it at all. Besides, points can't be recharged, they can only be obtained by completing tasks. Therefore, the F-rank refined samurai sword in his hand is already the best weapon. In this case, there is no way. You are a swordsman who mainly focuses on swords. If you don't have a suitable weapon, your strength will be greatly reduced. Riaz frowned and thought for a while. It's okay, I should be able to find suitable weapons in the future, and my physical skills are not vegetarian. Xia Lin smiled and shook her head. It's a pity that the magic sword made by my magic sword creation can be lent to others, but there is no way to maintain it. It can only be maintained for a short time during the battle, and it will soon disappear. Kiba Yuyudo also said regretfully. Riaz suddenly asked, Xia Lin, you should be using a takai in your hand, right? I don't have any special requirements for weapons, as long as it's not that kind of giant sword. Xia Lin doesn't have any strict requirements for the type of sword, whether it is a taikao or a knight's sword. He was walking at extreme speed, and a large and heavy weapon like a giant sword was obviously not suitable for him. Well, if I have time, I will go back to the underworld to see if there are suitable weapons in the family's treasure trove. Riaz said so. Riaz, if it goes on like this, I still don't know your favor. Xia Lin smiled helplessly. The favor of teaching magic has not yet been returned, and this has to be added, and Xia Lin is reluctant. If that's the case, don't pay it back, join my family and become my family, how about it? Riaz smiled playfully and blinked. Xia Lin was ready to refuse immediately. Okay, don't worry, I'm just joking. Before Xia Lin could speak, Riaz smiled and said, I am Riaz Gremory, I just want you to be my family willingly. Xia Lin breathed a sigh of relief. The weapons that could be collected into the treasure trove by the devil family, even if they weren't weapons like magic swords, should be very advanced weapons. This kind of favor is not good. Although Riaz certainly wouldn't mind, Xia Lin didn't like to owe others favors, he prefers others to owe favors to others. Don't worry, Xia Lin, a sword is nothing to me. Riaz said nonchalantly, what's more, if the weapons in the treasury are not used, they can only be put there to eat ashes. If you really feel bad about it, I will borrow it from you until you find a suitable one. After the weapon, give it back to me. Riaz's eyes were fixed on Xia Lin. This time you can't refuse, because this is a gift from me as a friend to you, unless what you said the night before was just perfunctory for me and didn't take me as a gift. Friend. Okay. Xia Lin nodded. He's not a hypocritical person, he just doesn't want to owe any more favors, and Riaz has already mentioned this, and he has no reason to refuse. The night before yesterday. Hearing this, Haimjima Aquino held Xia Lin's arm even tighter and glanced back and forth on the two of them vigilantly. There's something tricky. Riaz, did something happen between you and Xia Lin that we don't know about? Haimjima Aquino looked at Riaz and asked. Nothing. Riaz chuckled lightly, then pretended to look elsewhere inadvertently and well concealed the panic in her eyes. It's just that I couldn't sleep on Friday night. When I woke up at night, I happened to meet Xia Lin. We just chatted for a while. Riaz said indifferently she didn't know why she wanted to hide it, but she was a little flustered involuntarily, so she wanted to hide it. Yes, Haimjima Aquino looked odd. What are you doing so surprised? Xia Lin said speechlessly. I just found out that I can't bear to share Xia Lin-jun, it can only be mine alone. Haimjima Aquino said half-jokingly, didn't you say before that you don't mind letting me open the harem? Xia Lin also replied jokingly. I'm sorry, can't I? Haimjima Aquino justified, it's a girl's prerogative. Oh, hearing this, Riaz turned her eyes back again, showing a meaningful smile and said teasingly, I'm sorry, Aquino, I found that I also have a certain affection for Xia Lin, what should I do? Even if it's Riaz, I won't back down. Haimjima Aquino said firmly, really, but in memory you don't seem to have beaten me. Riaz raised her eyebrows. Ah, Riaz, are you going to check the old accounts with me? Haimjima Aquino smiled slightly, isn't it true that I never won, however it seems that I haven't lost either. Then do you want to try again? Riaz's eyes flashed with light. Come on. Haimjima Aquino let go of Xia Lin's arm, not flinching but full of fighting spirit. After a while the scene of Friday reappeared. Thunder and red light filled the sky and wild laughter echoed in the air. Two people will suddenly hit the bar, obviously beyond everyone's expectations, so they can only hide to the side silently so as not to be affected. The roots of troubles. Taoju Kaneko stood beside Xia Lin and said leisurely, you three no-brainers still know Tsukomi. Also, this is not called Hongyan, it is called Lanyan. Xia Lin rolled her eyes, resisting the urge to correct Taoju Kaneko's idiom. Ding-ling-ling-ling, ding-ling-ling-ling. In the tidy room, accompanied by a loud alarm clock, a hand stretched out from the bed and pressed the alarm clock very violently. I'm back already. When the alarm clock went quiet, and after another half a minute, Xia Lin opened her eyes, and her consciousness began to wake up little by little from her sleep. Looking at the familiar ceiling, I realized that the training camp was over, and that I was no longer in the mansion on the top of the mountain, but returned to my original residence. When I got home last night, Xia Lin took advantage of the time to go to Hyodoo Issei's house and erased all Hyodoo Issei's memory about himself. It feels a little quiet. Sensing the unconscious loneliness in her heart, Xia Lin let out a laugh. It seems that the appeal of Ria's and others is really strong. After only 2 or 3 days, she made herself feel comfortable with them, and she felt like she wanted to continue. The idea of staying together and making a fuss. I'm not a person who likes to be quiet. Xia Lin shook her head, throwing the last bit of sleepiness out of her mind, ready to get up for school. Mr. Xia Lin, are you awake? Hurry up and take a shower and have breakfast. Outside the room, a gentle and familiar voice came over. Got it. Xia Lin responded subconsciously. The next moment, he suddenly came back to his senses. What's the situation? Xia Lin stared at the door strangely, wondering if she was still in the mansion in the mountains. It's just a pity that the familiar room is very simple, not as spacious and luxurious as the mansion. Of course, this simple room also convinced Xia Lin that she was in her own house. Xia Lin immediately got up from the bed, quickly put on her clothes, opened the door, and walked out. Aquino, why are you in my house? Xia Lin looked strangely at Haimjima Aquino, who was busy in the living room, and asked. As expected, his ears heard correctly. It was Haimjima Aquino's voice. Hurry up and wash up, breakfast is ready. Haimjima Aquino is wearing a ponytail and an apron at the moment, full of the breath of a married wife, and her eyes are very gentle, like a newlywed wife urging her husband. I said you haven't answered my question yet. Xia Lin said speechlessly. This look of Haimjima Aquino is indeed tempting, even he can't deny it. Suddenly thinking of yesterday's scene, Xia Lin couldn't help but twitch, because Haimjima Aquino and Riaz fought even more intensely than they did on Friday, and the entire training ground was almost blown away. It's hard to imagine that the girl who fought wildly with Riaz yesterday afternoon would become so gentle. Don't people want to take care of Xia Lin's life? All of a sudden, Haimjima Aquino placed his hands at a loss, looked a little aggrieved, and looked at Xia Lin pitifully. Could it be that Xia Lin doesn't like a beautiful girl to take care of your life? Xia Lin thinks Haimjima Aquino is a witch who can switch styles freely without any pressure. At this moment, putting on this pitiful appearance, I am afraid that few people can stand it. Beauty plan? Xia Lin looked at Haimjima Aquino vigilantly, but he knew Haimjima Aquino's nature. Under normal circumstances, how could he be wronged just because of a single sentence? Kind of weird. Rather, since yesterday, Haimjima Aquino has been feeling a little weird. Why didn't Riaz come by herself? Xia Lin subconsciously suspected what plan the two of them were conspiring. After all, Xia Lin knew very well that in their eyes she was a sweet tooth. Ah, does Xia Lin-kun think so? Hearing this, Haimjima Aquino swept away the grievance and looked at Xia Lin dissatisfiedly. Unfortunately, Xia Lin, you guessed wrong this time. This is my own will. Xia Lin was calm and unmoved. Didn't you say it yesterday? I don't want to let Xia Lin out, so it's necessary to do something to please you. Haimjima Aquino blinked and looked at Xia Lin slyly, making it impossible to tell whether her words were true or false. Never mind. Xia Lin waved her hand, not intending to pursue it. It was him who enjoyed it anyway. Most importantly, no malice was felt. Just let it go. By the way, how did you get in? As soon as the words came out, Xia Lin felt that this question was quite an idiot. How could an ordinary security door prevent a high-class devil? It used a little trick, a small trick. Haimjima Aquino gave a rare shy smile. Needless to say, it must have just opened the door directly with magic. There's a spare key in the third drawer of that cabinet. Stop using your little tricks. Xia Lin pointed to a cabinet beside the TV and said so. Ah, am I approved by Xia Lin-kun? Haimjima Aquino suddenly showed a happy smile. By the way, can I ask you a question, Xia Lin-kun? Just ask. Xia Lin nodded. Am I the first girl to come to your house? Haimjima Aquino's eyes glittered, looking at Xia Lin expectantly. Yes. Xia Lin did not deny it. Hearing this, Haimjima Aquino smiled even more happily and then said energetically, it seems that I will stick to this position in the future and I can't let other girls invade casually. The corners of Xia Lin's mouth twitched. What was it like that the hostess swore her sovereignty? Okay, let's not talk about it. Go and wash up. Breakfast is getting cold. Haimjima Aquino urged with a smile. Xia Lin glanced at the dining table. There was a delicate breakfast on it, and there was an aroma in the air which made people appetite. Then he turned around and entered the bathroom. On the sink, a toothbrush with toothpaste was already placed. Seeing this scene, Xia Lin couldn't help but feel soft in her heart. Although he was a little upset before, Hajime Aquino broke into his house without saying hello, but now it seems that it is not so bad. After washing up, Xia Lin sat at the table and started to eat breakfast. Aren't you going to eat? Xia Lin was eating, then looked at Hajime Aquino beside him. I already ate it when I came, Mr. Xia Lin, you can eat it. I just went to make today's lunch. Hajime Aquino shook her head, turned and walked into the kitchen and resumed her work. More than 10 minutes later, the two finished packing and headed to Kyo Academy together. At the door of the teaching building, Xia Lin and Hajime Aquino separated and returned to their own classes. Perhaps because of last week's experience, the students of Kyo Academy have passed their freshman period, but they are not too surprised that Xia Lin and Hajime Aquino go to school together. As usual, the morning passed quickly without any turbulence. Xia Lin originally planned to take a break after eating the bento by himself in the class, but Taoju Kaneko insisted that he go to the occult research club with him. In this regard, Xia Lin did not refuse and readily agreed. After arriving in the activity room of the occult research club, Xia Lin found a place to sit down, and when he took out his bento to eat, he felt an unusual gaze fall on him. Xia Lin turned her head to meet Taoju Kaneko's straight eyes. Do you want to come too? Xia Lin thought Taoju Kaneko was greedy. After all, he had a lot of bentos today. Why is your bento the same as Aquino-senpai's bento? Taoju Kaneko asked with his golden pupils full of doubts. Why is your bento the same as Aquino-senpai's bento? Taoju Kaneko stared straight at Xia Lin with his golden pupils and asked suspiciously with a hint of questioning tone. She looked at Xia Lin's bento and then looked at Hajime Aquino's bento, making sure that she had not made a mistake in her judgment. Whether it was the bento box or the style of the meal, they were all the same. Hearing this, Xia Lin's face trembled twice. So this is what you care about. I can answer this for you, Kaneko-chan, Hajime Aquino said with a smile. Hearing this, Taoju Kaneko raised his eyes and looked at Hajime Aquino. Because Xia Lin-kun's bento was prepared by me. Hajime Aquino continued, I can't help it. Xia Lin is too casual in his life. I can only take care of his diet. Hajime Aquino conjured up a key as if to show off. Xia Lin has given me the key to his house. In the future, I should go to his house often. Has your relationship reached this point? Ria supported her forehead and said with a sigh, there's no way anyone who calls someone will invade my home without saying hello. I'm worried that someone will be caught by the police as a thief by accident in the future, and I'll have to go and find them. Xia Lin shrugged and said jokingly that he always felt that Hajime Aquino was doing something and drawing hatred for him. What intrusion, that's too much, I've knocked on the door well. Hajime Aquino gave Xia Lin a sullen look, stuck out her tongue and looked cute, but Xia Lin-kun slept so much that I didn't hear it. Xia Lin ignored it directly. Taoju Kaneko didn't say a word, just sat indifferently in the same place, silently eating the bento in front of him. Seeing this, Xia Lin didn't say much and continued to eat. You didn't call me. Suddenly, Taoju Kaneko's mouth suddenly came out of such a sentence. She raised her head and looked at Xia Lin with that expressionless face, and Xia Lin felt a little chill. However, Xia Lin still felt a little speechless about Taoju Kaneko's question. They both trained together on weekends and only separated on Sunday evening. In this case, summon a yarn. It doesn't make sense. Call? Riaz asked puzzled. Does Xia Lin need any help from Kaneko? Actually, I bought a lot of games recently. It's boring to play alone. I wanted to find someone to play with, so I thought of Kaneko first. Xia Lin explained. That's why you use Devil Summon. Riaz smiled silently. She didn't expect that Xia Lin, who always seemed to be resolute, would have such a hobby, and for such a hobby she even used Devil Summoning. Although in the Devil contract such people are not uncommon, but in Xia Lin, Riaz felt a bit inconsistent. Well, I got the summoning card from Kaneko, but I haven't had time to use it yet. Xia Lin spreads her hands. No wonder Kaneko takes his mission very seriously. You took the summoning card, but you haven't summoned her, so Kaneko feels a little frustrated. Riaz nodded and said, if you have time, call Kaneko. Hearing Riaz's words, Xia Lin felt a little helpless. He had only received the card for a few days and had no free time to summon him. However, in the end, he did not explain. Taoju Kaneko's eyes didn't leave Xia Lin. He still looked at him like that, quietly waiting for his answer. Okay. Xia Lin nodded in agreement. In addition to playing games, I can also do some housework. I'm very good at rough work. Taoju Kaneko also added a sentence. How does it sound like a rivalry with Hajime Aquino? Xia Lin gave Kaneko a weird look, didn't speak to hit her, and said, well, I might trouble you in the future. Key. After seeing Xia Lin agree, Taoju Kaneko extended his hand rudely. Xia Lin. I don't want to be caught by the police as an intruder. Taoju Kaneko was expressionless and made an excuse to say that she didn't want to say that she didn't want to be left behind. You three have nothing in Tsukomi again. Xia Lin almost laughed. I'll give it to you when I call you at night. Xia Lin didn't refuse, she already gave Hajime Aquino one anyway and didn't care about giving another, and Hajime Aquino was not in such a good mood. He just announced that he would defend his territory in the morning, but he did not expect to fail at noon. Sure enough, all routes started from within. Hajime Aquino immediately looked at Xia Lin, her expression was so resentful how grieved and grieved. However, Xia Lin, who had already learned to teach Aquino the true nature of the witch, still chose to ignore it. Under Hajime Aquino's resentful gaze, Xia Lin finished her lunch. By the way, Xia Lin has one more thing. Riaz suddenly smiled mysteriously. Seeing Ria's mysterious smile, Xia Lin's heart moved. What? In Ria's hand, a light flashed and a Japanese-style takai appeared. The sword is in a scabbard and the style is a bit primitive. Xia Lin kind of understands why Kaneko insisted on letting him come to a cult research club for lunch before. This is to surprise myself. Didn't I say yesterday that I wanted to find you a weapon? That's it. Riaz handed the weapon to Xia Lin. So fast. Xia Lin had to admire the efficiency of Ria's actions. She said it yesterday and it's here today. Xia Lin took the takai, and through the scabbard she could feel a faint warmth emanating from the blade. Zhang. Xia Lin held the hilt and pulled out the sword, revealing the appearance of the sword. The blade is red like fire and there are patterns on it. These patterns seem to be alive, beating like flames. At the end of the blade, the name of the blade is engraved. Fire Knife Kong Flame. Magic Sword. Feeling the fluctuations in Kong Yan's body, Xia Lin couldn't help but say this sword is definitely not ordinary. It has not yet reached the level of a magic sword, but it is also a weapon at the level of a famous sword. Riaz explained that magic sword-level weapons are treasures no matter where they are placed. Although Riaz personally will not begrudge them, Gremory will not be like her personally. Looking at Kong Yan, Xia Lin's eyes showed joy. Although it was not a magic sword, the quality of this sword was definitely much better than his refined samurai sword. Thank you, Riaz, I like this surprise very much. Thanks, Xia Lin, as long as you like it. Seeing that Xia Lin was satisfied with her gift, Riaz was also very happy and felt that her efforts were not in vain. Originally, I planned to find a weapon that could have the thunder attribute, but unfortunately, only this one in the treasure trove is more suitable for you. Riaz said regretfully. Yesterday's Rachel really shocked Riaz, so she thought that she could find a weapon that matched Rachel, but she didn't find it. Xia Lin didn't think it was a pity, he was very satisfied with this weapon, and the lethality of both fire attributes and mine attributes could rise to a higher level. He took a look at Kong Yan's attributes through the function of the system. Props: Fire Knife Kong Yan Quality, D-Effect. Attacks with fire attributes can cause burning effects, making it a good weapon. Provenance: Collection of the Gremory family D-Class weapons and D-Class Rachel are a good match. Xia Lin couldn't help laughing in her heart. But Xia Lin didn't expect that the evaluation given by the system was not bad about Kong Yan. After getting Kong Yan from Riaz, Xia Lin was in a good mood all day. Even if she returned to the classroom and was wiped by her classmates, she would not have a black face. In the afternoon, there were only 2 classes, and there was a lot of free time. After class, Xia Lin did not leave the school immediately, but went to the occult research club for a while. Yesterday's training camp has just ended, and it will take some time to buffer, so there are no specific club activities today. Everyone just got together for an afternoon tea. Of course, within the occult research club, Xia Lin himself has no club activities. After all, now Xia Lin is not a devil but a human body without any restraints and responsibilities. The rest of them are all devils with devil contracts. Except for Riaz, the devil nobleman, they all need to complete the tasks given by their employers. In the occult research club, after staying for an hour, the rest of the people started busy with their contract activities. After seeing that nothing happened, Xia Lin also left. Thinking of the situation of Taoju Kaneko at noon, Xia Lin decided to call at night. With this thought in mind, Xia Lin suddenly remembered that it seemed that those games that he had bought had been thrown aside for ashes since they were bought, and the packaging had not been opened. In the end, it was only a game that Taoju Kaneko bought for the sake of routine, plus I was busy improving my strength these days, so I naturally didn't have the heart to play the game. Wait until Kaneko is summoned and let's tear it down together. Thinking of this, Xia Lin walked out of Kuo Academy, brought Kong Yan with him, and put it in the equipment slot of the system, then he headed back home. The greening of Kuwang town is very good, so the scenery and air on the road are very fresh. On the way, Xia Lin was not in a hurry and the speed was not too slow. Ah, When passing a slightly remote street, an exclamation sounded on the slightly quieter street, accompanied by the sound of something falling to the ground, and this voice caught Xia Lin's attention. Looking down the voice, Xia Lin saw the owner of the voice. It's really by accident. After seeing the owner of the voice, Xia Lin couldn't help but whisper to herself. What caught Xia Lin's eyes was a young girl about the same age as him, about 15 or 16 years old. The girl's expression was wearing a rather ornately decorated nun's uniform. Compared with the normal nun's uniform with a dark body, she had a sense of holiness like a saint. On the girl's head, she also wears a veil that is common in nun clothes. However, even with the veil on, the girl's face was still unobstructed, and Xia Lin could see the long golden hair that shone a little dazzlingly in the sunset. However, the girl's current situation is not good. For some unknown reason, the girl fell to the ground in a very indecent posture, and the suitcase also fell to the ground. The suitcase was smashed open, and several pieces of clothing fell out. The girl herself was sitting on the ground, and the long skirt of the nun's dress was lifted up when she fell, revealing the fat inside. The girl frowned tightly, a look of pain on her pretty face, and the fall just now made her a little serious. Asia Algot, I didn't expect to meet you here. At the first sight of the girl, Xia Lin recognized her. Even if the gap between the three-dimensional and the two-dimensional has some changes in appearance, Asia's own characteristics are the same as Ria's, which is really easy to identify. So in the 2 days of our training camp, we have officially entered the plot. The appearance of Asia gave Xia Lin an idea. Perhaps because of his appearance, the original plot was disrupted, but some things still proceeded according to the original trajectory. The main quest is being generated, please wait. Task generation, or the task has been generated. Suddenly, after 2 days, a mechanically cold system prompt sounded in Xia Lin's ears. Hearing the beep, Xia Lin smiled and then clicked on the taskbar consciously. Main quest II, abduction of the Holy Maiden mission requirements. Saint Asia Argot was expelled from the church and is about to be lured into the fallen angel camp. Please lure her to your side and save her from the threat of death. Mission difficulty, normal. Quest rewards, primary healing, primary purification, 1,000 points. Glancing at the mission, Xia Lin had a general idea in her mind, but isn't the word abduction a bit too much? Wouldn't it be better to change it to rescue? Xia Lin has a Tsukomi impulse when it comes to the task name. Also, this quest rewards healing, purification, plus a previous quest reward Blade of Light. This is to make yourself go further and further on the path of the clergy. Experience it yourself. The system still gave a very cold answer. Without intending to be honest with the system, Xia Lin withdrew her consciousness and put her eyes on Asia again. Abduct, just kidnap. Xia Lin laughed. As a saint, Asia has a holy and pure temperament on her body, especially after being expelled. She has a feeling of weakness like water, which really makes people have the urge to bully her. Xia Lin is no exception. After thinking about it, Xia Lin decided to move forward and walk to Asia's side. Asia frowned, propped on the ground with one hand and rubbed her buttocks with the other, trying to relieve the injury but did not notice the approach of someone. It was not until Xia Lin walked to his side, the sunlight was blocked, and Asia felt the darkness of her vision that she noticed Xia Lin's approach. Asia opened her eyes, raised her eyes and looked at Xia Lin with some gratitude in her eyes. From Xia Lin's body, Asia does not feel any malice, but she is pure and kind and has always looked at the world with kind eyes, thinking that Xia Lin is a kind passerby. Excuse me. Asia subconsciously thought that Xia Lin was here to help her, endured the pain, pulled out a forced smile, and politely planned to thank her. However, Xia Lin did not extend his hand. He looked down at Asia with a taste that could not be rejected. I saw fat times, you will be mine in the future. However, Xia Lin's next words made her stunned on the spot, a little overwhelmed, and stared at Xia Lin blankly. A. Xia Lin's words were astonishing, and Asia was immediately frightened, and then she asked cautiously, Sir, what did you just say? A reluctant smile appeared on Asia's face. She suspected that her ears had heard it wrong. How could someone say such a thing? Well, it must be so. After the fall just now, I didn't expect to have a hearing problem. This must be the punishment the Lord has given me, Asia thought sadly in her heart. I said, I saw your fat times and you will be mine in the future. Xia Lin repeated, do you hear me this time? I don't want to repeat the same thing a third time. In Xia Lin's eyes, Asia nodded, looking a little silly. Asia suddenly seemed to remember something, exclaimed in surprise, looked flustered, and hurriedly pulled down the nun's skirt that had been lifted to the thigh, blocking the exposed white fat. Sorry for letting you see something rude. Asia seemed to have forgotten the pain, stood up from the ground, and kept bowing to Xia Lin, unable to even speak, and stopped. Asia blushed with apology as if she really did something wrong. You don't need to apologize, you'll be mine in the future anyway, so you should show it to me. Xia Lin waved her hand very much, emphasizing it again shamelessly, even if you say so. Asia showed a very embarrassed look and was very resistant to Xia Lin's words. Any questions? Xia Lin asked rhetorically. We just met for the first time. Asia blushed and she was seen by the other party in a place that she shouldn't look at the first time they met. She was pure and flawless, and she really had the urge to find a seam to get in. I've never heard of being seen fat. Fat. Asia was so shy that she couldn't speak clearly and she couldn't say the two words completely. It was stuck on the word fat like a cassette. Fat times. Seeing Asia's embarrassed look, Xia Lin almost laughed out loud, and he added it completely without changing his face. Okay. Asia bowed her head and responded as if saying these two words would be impure. After being seen it becomes yours, I have never heard of such a thing. Asia whispered that she felt that Xia Lin was too strong. And, Asia raised her head with a hint of loneliness in her eyes. She stopped halfway through the words and did not continue. And what? Xia Lin asked. Nothing. Asia smiled and shook her head with a hint of sadness in her smile. Well, actually I have no choice. This is one of the rules of Qing Town. Even if I want to refuse, there is no way. Xia Lin saw that Asia was resisting and was ready to talk nonsense. How can there be such a strange rule? It's very unreasonable no matter how you look at it. Asia opened her mouth in surprise. You actually believed it. Xia Lin took a weird look at Asia but felt a little embarrassed. This little nun is so pure that people have the urge to completely pollute her. Miss Nun, you look like a foreigner. Is this your first time in Qing Town? Xia Lin asked. Well, this is my first time going abroad. Asia opened her eyes wide and nodded naturally. Miss Nun, don't you read the strategy when you go abroad? Xia Lin spread out her hands helplessly and said with a sigh, strategy. The little nun tilted her head in confusion. What is that? Xia Lin said, your common sense is really weak. Xia Lin added in her heart, this is the only way to kidnap him. Hold. I'm sorry, because of my previous work, I rarely have contact with the outside world. The little nun was nervous again and bowed in apology. The saint who used to be the church has always been offered as a saint. Whether it is life or work, she is in the church and naturally lacks some common sense things. The so-called strategy, Xia Lin explained. The little nun looked at Xia Lin curiously. When you go to an unfamiliar place, you must know the various conditions of the place, the customs, and so on. For example, what are the attractive places, what are delicious and fun, and the most important point, naturally it's a matter of precautions, what can be done and what can't be done. Xia Lin gave a very simple and understandable explanation. Need to do this, I don't know. The little nun was at a loss. She set off on the journey in a hurry and came to Qing Town. Hey, Xia Lin pretended to be helpless and sighed. Is there a big problem? Seeing Xia Lin's expression, the little nun was very anxious. Of course. Xia Lin nodded as a matter of course. For example, in the current situation between you and me, you must become my person when I see you fat. This is one of the most important rules in Qing Town. Xia Lin said regretfully, if you had known beforehand, you would not have touched this matter and would not have been so embarrassed. But I'm a foreigner, not a native of Qing Town. Do I have to obey? The little nun's mind came back a little and asked. As long as you are in Qing Town, you must obey, whether it is aboriginal or an outsider. Xia Lin didn't blush at all and said seriously, is there no solution? The little nun was anxious and Xia Lin was happy. Have. Xia Lin's expression suddenly changed, and she raised her finger and pointed not far away. Did you see it? What? Asia followed Xia Lin's fingers and asked suspiciously, there's a lake there. Xia Lin said indifferently, well, I saw it. Asia nodded. What happened to this lake? It's actually very simple to solve it. As long as you tie a rock to your body, jump up and plunge into the lake, it will be solved. So that's the solution. I thought it was going to be a very difficult test. The little nun showed a relaxed smile and patted her chest in relief. Xia Lin looked at her strangely, and he found that the little nun didn't understand the meaning of her words. What? The next moment, Goddess Xia Ozu's expression changed. She exclaimed and looked at Xia Lin with a terrified expression. You mean, you need to do that to solve the problem? It seems to have responded. Xia Lin nodded. Actually, there is another way. Xia Lin continued. So there is another way. The little nun was taken aback. Xia Lin said lightly, you tied a stone to me and threw me into the lake. Hearing this, the little nun's face that had just eased up suddenly collapsed. No. The little nun couldn't bear it and said resolutely, that's really cruel. In that case, we can only abide by the rules. Xia Lin expressed his apologies and was overjoyed. But, Asia is anxious. But what? Xia Lin asked. I am a nun, and from a long time ago I made an oath to dedicate myself to the Lord. Asia looks reverent, hands folded. However, Asia suddenly showed a very lonely and sad look and then shook her head. It looks like you are a very devout believer, Xia Lin said with a chuckle. Okay. Asia's expression darkened and she nodded lightly. In this case, you should abide by the rules of Qwang Town even more. Xia Lin's words changed, making Asia even more at a loss, and she didn't understand why Xia Lin was so sure all of a sudden. There is a church in this city, which shows that the city also exists under the watchful eyes of the gods. And this rule has not been banned for so many years, which shows that in the eyes of the gods it is reasonable. As a devout believer, are you going to deny your beliefs? Xia Lin felt that she was a little sorry for the only god who died, and even took him out to make fun of him. In his heart, he silently apologized to the one god, but Xia Lin still stared at Asia calmly, making people unable to see that he was talking nonsense.